people after this? Because you're lying. You're full of shit. All of it, dude. I'm sick of it.
Into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
This is not a valid menu option. Conditional range. Situation delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal.
More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is February 22nd, 2023, the Super 2 date, and it was exactly 1 year ago today on 2/22/2022 that Joe Biden took the podium at 2:22 p.m. sharp to let us know what was going on with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And as you recall, that was the day that energy prices skyrocketed. And if you haven't noticed, the top 10 performing stocks in the time of Russia-Ukraine were all energy companies, including Dick Cheney's famous Halliburton. Again, just follow the money trail. Agenda 2030 is all about energy. The people who control the energy companies want to control the energy companies and the world with it. And anyhow, in light of it being 1 year to the day later, CNN, everyone's favorite propaganda news network, almost all day they kept up the same story on the front page, which is pretty rare. Normally CNN will cycle their front page, 10 times in a day throughout, the prime hours of the day, but almost all day they kept up the same top headline. Ex-Russian President Medvedev says country will be torn to pieces if it loses war. And remember, Russia already was torn to pieces. It used to be the Soviet Union, and now it's a bunch of pieces, and now those pieces are fighting with themselves, which is essentially what Russia and Ukraine is. Russia and Ukraine used to all be part of the Soviet Union. But if you look at the CNN headline, they emphasize the phrase, will be torn to pieces. And again, this is where you can see how day after day the news media practices the Kabbalistic code of Gematria, coding numbers into words. And learning these codes exposes who's controlling the world and for what purpose and what move is next, just like how we were able to predict last year before February 22nd came around why that should be the day that Russia-Ukraine would pop off, something that had been brewing for the year prior. But that phrase in Gematria, will be torn to pieces, what they have emphasized, it has Gematria of 222. Again, just like the date 2/22, just like Biden taking the podium at 2:22 p.m. Eastern Time local. We've been talking about this number a lot in recent times. Remember Donald Trump, who everybody thinks would be the hero if he were in office right now. Again, through this knowledge, you can definitively prove that he's no hero and he's in the same club as Joe Biden. Because remember, January 21st, 2020, the day that coronavirus was confirmed in the U.S., was the same day Donald Trump was in Switzerland shaking hands with Klaus Schwab, who was also front and center a year ago today. But he was shaking hands with Klaus Schwab, the leader of the World Economic Forum. the same man who'd put on the Event 201 coronavirus pandemic simulation 1 month to the day of the outbreak. Now, when Trump was in Switzerland with Klaus Schwab on the day coronavirus was confirmed in the U.S., that was Trump's 222nd day of his age, 222. And in Gematria, World Economic Forum equals 222, Wuhan coronavirus equals 222, order out of chaos, which is the motto, equals 222. Create the problem, provide the solution. Look at what they've done with all of these things. They've siphoned money, funneled money to the ruling class more and more, from COVID to Russia-Ukraine. The ruling class is gaining more. The average person is losing more. Their job, their ability to afford the heat, the ability to afford even things as simple as eggs. All of these things are by design, and they're all being controlled by the same Jesuit cabal, which Biden, Trump, Klaus Schwab, Anthony Fauci, and more belong to. And again, you go back to the 16th century, you'll see the Jesuits were created, English was standardized with the spellings we use today, the Gregorian calendar rolled out, and you can track how all throughout history it's been working by this code. Now, with regards to the Jesuits, remember, we know about the text Art of War, not because of Sun Tzu, who supposedly wrote it. There's no proof of Sun Tzu ever existed, in fact. We do know that the Jesuit logo is the sun, and the reason we know about that text Art of War is because the Jesuit priest Father Amiot. And what's funny is Art of War and World War both equal 102. And like we talked about, when Russia-Ukraine popped off, it was exactly 102 weeks from COVID popping off. And remember, COVID, they said, was the worst pandemic in 102 years. The last as bad was Spanish flu, which came out of World War I. World War, Art of War. They both have that Gematria 102. And today's headline will be torn to pieces. It does have a Gematria value of 222 like we talked about. But if you use numerology, it also breaks down to 102. So what a perfect encoding of the CNN headline. These were the exact same numbers we were talking about exactly 1 year ago to the day. And again, Gematria, the Kabbalistic language that everyone really should be a lot more invested in this truth community, because as we know, these supposed truth speakers continue to ignore this information and continue to talk about things that are besides the point and believe in faulty heroes like Donald Trump, when if you would just learn the knowledge and pay attention to the knowledge, it points to so many things, from what's coming next to what's really going on with markets to what's coming next in the markets. All day today, I've been studying markets. For the record, that's going to be the new direction of this community. We're going to be paying a lot more attention to markets. People like money. We've proven with this knowledge we can win in the markets, from the stock market to the crypto market to the rigged sports game market. And again, I think that's going to be the way to get more people on board, helping them earn from the knowledge. They didn't put the all-seeing eye on the dollar for nothing. But speaking of the all-seeing eye on the dollar, they say that pyramid on there has 72 bricks. Another headline today is how Biden spent 72 hours in Europe. And don't forget, that's where the Cabal came to be the Cabal after the Templars brought back the knowledge of Kabbalah after the Crusades. But anyways, Biden's 72 hours, a headline today in Europe. And didn't you guys love how for President's Day he's in Ukraine of all places on an American holiday? As we refuse to do anything about the debt ceiling. We have a ticking time bomb doing nothing for the debt ceiling, and Biden's over there giving billions more to Ukraine. It's all so disgusting to just witness the rituals. But with regards to his 72 hours in Europe, remember, in Gematria, President Biden and President Trump both equal 72. But in the case of Biden, it was 1972 that he became senator-elect, when his wife and daughter died right after in a car crash. And that was on Limestone Road, and limestone's what was used to build the pyramids, going with the 72 bricks on the pyramid. But also, when Biden was 72 years old, that is also when his son Beau Biden died at age 46, synced up with the Pope, who became the first Jesuit Pope on the 72nd day of the year. Jesuit order equals 72. But, and don't forget, Beau Biden died 201 days before Pope Francis' birthday. The Jesuit order also equals 201. First Pope to live in Suite 201. 201 remaining layers of stone at the Great Pyramid of Giza, which, probably not by chance, Great Pyramid of Giza equals 201, just like the Jesuit order, like Order of Illuminati, whose symbol is associated with the pyramid, and of course the eye. But yeah, here we are. 1 year into the ritual. Things more expensive than ever. And what I've just decided doing my recent brainstorming is I've spent the last 20 years of my life trying to not participate in financial markets and just not be part of the system. And I'm kind of having this realization that, you know what, you might have to play the game a lot more if you want to beat the game. And I'm starting to think, instead of staying out of the game, we might need to get more involved in the game and all build our resources, taking advantage of their rig system, so that hopefully, collectively, we can get ourselves to a position where we can actually compete and beat these people at their own game. But yeah, I'm almost tempted to talk about Gavin Newsom and Elon Musk, two more Jesuit puppets in their meeting today. But you can check out my work at GematriaEffectNews. Again, when I do this radio show on Wednesday nights, I don't like to go on too much. What I do like to do is take calls and hear from the listeners. And let's make sure everything's up and running with the call board. It all looks good. We are going to begin going out to calls. Again, if you want to phone in tonight, the number is 213-233-3998. 213-233-3998. And if you are watching on YouTube, we are streaming on Gematria Effect News 25 because the last 24 channels have been censored by the Nazis at Google. I should say the Jesuits, but hey, what's the difference between Jesuits and Nazis? Almost nothing. Anyway, we are on Gematria Effect News 25, and we are going to go out to our first caller. And I was going to say, if you're watching that stream, the number is on the screen if you want to call in. Again, 213-233-3998. We got Michigan up first. And Michigan, you are on.
Hey, Zach. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. Sitting here in a freezing rain, sleet, snow, blizzard. It's been pounding all day, man.
Hey,
waiting for you.
You bringing up the weather, I put out a tweet this morning because, yeah, I mean, we're having a coast-to-coast storm, and I don't remember things like this happening in the past until more recent times, these coast-to-coast storms. And something that was amazing, when I drove from Washington State to New York City for September 11th this year, I drove all the way across the country. There was almost no clouds driving the entire location. I didn't encounter one drop of rain, but there was literally like almost no clouds those stretch of days that I was driving across the country. And I just thought, how can the weather be so uniform across the whole country? Some kind of manipulation. But yeah, I put out a tweet this morning about how it was real windy out here. The wind actually started real bad yesterday out here on the 52nd day of the year, reminding that that's the number of weather warfare, and the first act of weather warfare was admitted to in 52 on the Jesuit Order's birthday, August 15th. But I put out a tweet this morning, and I had people responding from all over the country saying, yeah, it's crazy windy here too. I had it from Georgia to pretty much every part of the country, people saying, yeah, it's very windy here today. And I mean, how can the whole country be experiencing a windstorm at once? This is some kind of manipulation.
Yes, they parked this system over us for sure all day. And we've had some pretty incredible 60-degree weather. The winter's been quite mild. But when this is our second ice storm of the season. And did you hear about the nuclear weapons factory caught on fire today in Kentucky?
A nuclear weapons factory?
They make uranium rods.
I did not know that. I'll look into that.
And check that out. And then I haven't heard you talk about the East Palestine, Ohio train derailment.
So I've talked about that a lot. And again, it's all synced up with Israel and a whole bunch of other things. The Pope, it's totally Jesuit. Mm-hmm. Again, State of Israel, 201 like the Jesuit order. Palestine spelled just like Palestine. East Palestine, Ohio in Gematria equals 266 like the Jesuit motto Isus Hominum Salvator, like how Pope Francis is the 266th Pope. But that train derailment happened on the 266th day of Israel's age. And it's also perfectly synced with the film White Noise. Perfectly synced with the film White Noise, which they used that town to film the movie. And for people who don't know about it, white noise about a train that gets crashed into, which releases a chemical spill and explosion, and then there's a big nasty chemical cloud over the town. They used that town to film the movie, and the movie just came out last year. From the day the movie came out to the incident was 156 days later, and vinyl chloride equals 156, the chemical we keep hearing about. And that's a special number too, that 156. 911 is the 156th prime. A number that follows tragedies. But yeah, that's a huge ritual that they've done to that town. And I think that's part of the slap in the face too, right? The president and the federal government doesn't have any time for what happened in East Palestine, but on President's Day, they're in Ukraine. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, right. You remember the shuttle that exploded over Texas? Remember where that exploded over? Palestine, Texas.
I didn't realize that was the name of the town. I'll go back and look at that.
Yes. and Palestine is pronounced Palestine in Ohio. They say Palestine, not Palestine.
Oh, they're doing that on the news.
The media,
I see.
Yeah, and I've actually heard some reports where in one they'll say the word many times, but they keep flip-flopping from Palestine to Palestine. I think they know it's Palestine, but they keep saying Palestine to try to throw us off or something that don't make any sense. It's like Corona and COVID, when that broke.
Right.
I know here in Michigan, our governor, she had a big press conference and she kept going from Corona to COVID. I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? Anyway, these people are out of control. And you ever heard of LibertyTreeRadio.org?
No, but I'll check it out. LibertyTreeRadio.org.
Check it out. Yes, that is the militia. Mark Kornke he started the militia movement after Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City, and Waco with John Stadtmiller in Michigan here. They started the Michigan militia, and they have a national militia call every day, Monday through Friday. I'm telling you, this guy is incredible. These guys are ready. He's been buying military surplus. He's got planes, helicopters, all kinds of vehicles, camps where they train, and they do this nationwide. And they are so ready for this to break. And I'm telling you, I know we're going to come out on the other side. These people are running scared. They're freaking out, and they're pulling out all the stops. And, more and more people are waking up every day.
Indeed. All right. Well, appreciate the call and support as always. I'll check out that radio station. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right. All right, George. What's going on?
Hello, Zach. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Great, thank you. So I caught you on with Johnny and his crew the other day, and I'm glad you got to touch bases with him. I realized my call last week wasn't the best, so can I get a mulligan?
Of course.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. So, quick question for you. I know we've talked about the 1960s and the Tavistock Institute and the Beatles and all that sort of stuff, but we've not talked at any great length about the Rolling Stones. Now, you talked about one of their musicians, Brian Jones, who died, what was it? Died in 1969. I don't recall the date. I should have it. When did Brian Jones die? Was it June 69?
Let me check. It's in my first book, but I forget what date it is. July 3rd, 69. Okay. July 3rd, 69.
Okay, so that is not what I wanted to talk to you about. Are you familiar with Rupert Lowenstein?
No.
Okay, most people are not. He lived, I'm sorry. He lived from He lived from the 24th of August, 1933, died on May the 20th, 2014. So he was 80 years old. He was the financial manager for the Rolling Stones. He took over in 1969. So among the other things, even though he was of Jewish background, he was a convert to Catholicism. As a matter of fact, two of his sons actually became priests. So, Lowenstein, Prince Lowenstein, basically ran the Rolling Stones for 40 some odd years, 45 years or so. So you had never heard of Lowenstein. Well, in addition to being a Catholic convert, he was a Knight of the Order of Constantine and a Sovereign Military Order of Malta.
Okay.
So anyhow, that sort of ups the ante somewhat. And just so one of the first songs they came out after he took them over was "Sympathy for the Devil," which was released, I believe, on December the 5th, 1968, and it was on their Beggar's Banquet album. Now, I know you've spoken several times on the radio and at least one of your books about how the year 1968 was when they started initiating all these initiatives. The Club of Rome was established on April the 7th, for example. Construction of the World Trade Center began that year. The coronavirus was isolated or allegedly isolated. So,
fentanyl.
I just wanted you to have it.
Just to remind people, fentanyl was approved that year too. 68, the year of years.
Yes. So, George H.W. Bush graduated from Yale. Donald Trump graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. Bill Clinton from Georgetown. So, I just wanted, you said you never heard of Lowenstein before. So, do you have any quick reflections or observations you'd like to make about him?
I'll look into him, but no. I'm sure there's a connection since he took over the same year the one guy died, but I'll go back and look into it.
Oh, well, Lowenstein was that part of the man. He basically was their money man for them.
Okay.
So, and, I used to like the Rolling Stones, right? I bought a number of their albums, things like that, and I didn't realize I was being, that was done by design. Of course, we're supposed to like bands like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles, because that's part of their conditioning and programming. But, quick question for you. Have you ever analyzed the lyrics of Sympathy for the Devil?
No, but I will look into it, yeah. Yeah, interesting title for a song.
Oh, okay, but probably a more appropriate name for it would be Sympathy for the Jesuits.
Okay.
Because if you think about all the things they referenced, such as the Blitzkrieg in 1939, those are Jesuit creations. And a comment you just made a few minutes ago was, you said, is there a difference between Jesuits and the Nazis? Well, not really, because the Gestapo, well, actually the SS was modeled after the Jesuits.
Indeed.
Okay, so anyhow, well, and by the way, your previous caller, I just want to make one last comment if I could. Your previous caller said they keep alternating the pronunciation of the town in Ohio. They keep saying Palestine and Palestine. Well, they do that on purpose. I mean, when did Kiev become Kyiv?
Yeah, they changed the name recently. So, right.
Yeah. So I guess there had to be some sort of Kabbalistic reason for that.
Yeah, the new Gematria, how they spell Kyiv, has the Gematria 56, like Society of Jesus, like Pope, and then the Pope did the big 56 ritual last year right after the outbreak. And it wasn't that long ago they changed their name. It's just like how Turkey changed the spelling of their name last year to 37, and then they get the monster earthquake on the 37th day of the year. So, Revelation 3:7.
Okay, so
Revelation 3:7 to the Church of Philadelphia, which is in modern-day Turkey. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, last point. Today is also my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm 54 years old, so I'm not sure what that means.
You were born in 69, huh?
Yes. So, no, of course, you just were talking about, or we're just talking about 1968 and how important that was for the cabal. Well, that was the year of my conception.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So, but I had absolutely nothing to do with that. I promise.
Sure.
Okay, well, I guess I'll talk to you soon, Jack.
All right, George. Appreciate it as always. Thank you. All right. Always good to hear from George. And we did connect with his old associate, Johnny Cerrucci, this past week. Pretty good stream. Would have been even better if George was on there. Let's go out to 562. What's up, 562?
Zach.
Yeah, you're on.
Zach.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thanks for taking my call.
Welcome.
Hey, I'll keep it short. Listen, what we need right now is a retarded rant video.
Yeah.
That's what we need. Keep it in the back of your mind, man. Those are your best. That's when you're at your best. Okay, so I'll hang up now.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. Ooh, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me, True Seeker. That was the chilly sneeze right there. All right, let's go out to let's see if he's ready, or is he gonna be ready at 11 Eastern? New York City.
Hey, what's up, Zach? You can hear me?
I can hear you. What's up?
What's up? I got a couple quick points I want to make. Did you notice last week when the Boston Celtics head coach got officially hired, they took the interim tag off him, what their record was? 42-17.
So 42 out of 59 games. Yeah, who's the interim coach?
Yes. I don't know the name. His name is Joe something.
Okay, I see.
So it's crazy that they officially made him the head coach when he was on 42 wins with 59 games.
I want to say they got that 42nd win over Detroit too, didn't they? The city on the 42nd parallel where Motown came out in 59. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, hold on. We got a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Live once, so do what you feel passionate about. Take chances professionally. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. So don't be afraid to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Sargent from Strange World, broadcasting live every Tuesday evening, 10 to 12 Eastern, 7 to 9 Pacific, right here on True Frequency Radio. Strange World covers a wide range of topics, from enclosed world theory to lunar waves to the end of the world in film. It's basically doomsday with a silver lining. With the audience as my co-host, we take an optimistic approach to all things conspiracy and promote confidence, hope, and humor whenever possible. If there's a topic you want us to cover or a guest you would like to see interviewed, please email me at msargent23@comcast.net. So please join me And tell your friends about Truth Frequency Radio, the leader in real radio programming, bringing you quality, cutting-edge broadcasts from around the world.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
You're listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
We are TFR.
You want your freedom.
All right, we're back, Truth Seeker. It's almost Rambo's time to shine, but first, let's finish our call with our other friend in New York. Both of these gentlemen were out on the streets with us on September 11th last year. All right, you got cut off. You're back on.
Okay, let me go to my next point. Jordan is releasing his Jordans 3 on March 11th.
Well, go figure. Go figger.
Jordan 113, right?
Yeah, he's got the new award in the NBA that's 113. Yeah, go figure.
All right, and my next point. Did you see the story about Nipsey Hussle killer Eric Holder getting sentenced to 60 to life today?
He was sentenced for what?
The guy who killed Nipsey Hussle.
I remember that. Yeah, Eric Holder was all synced up with Obama's attorney, but he was sentenced for what?
He was sentenced 60 years to life.
60 to life. I see. 60 to life in Black History Month. All right, I'll have to look into that one. I'm sure there's a ritual there. So.
All right, and my last point is if you Google Drake new hairstyle, he got his hair braided like an owl.
Like
an owl. You know how they worship the owl.
Okay, I'll have to look into that too. Interesting.
Okay, so that's it. I just want to make those quick points.
All right. Great points as always. Thank you, friend.
Okay.
All right. You have a good night.
All right.
All right. Thank you to the super chatters. Let's go out to Rambo. All right, Rambo. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Of course.
It's interesting you mentioned the owl. One of the interpretations of Super Bowl, if you break down Super Bowl, it's superb owl.
Right.
And because there's been a bunch of synchronicity with the owls, which we talked about in the past. He showed up in so many instances. Yeah, and Drake, he's identified with the owl. So yes, Super Bowl, superb owl. That's part of that. So, which is what I'm going to talk about here. Last week I talked about Damar Hamlin's jacket that he wore at Super Bowl 57, which made him a headline. So he actually became a headline even at the Super Bowl, even though he wasn't playing. It's the players, the halftime performer, but Damar Hamlin, you can see he's important for them. He has to be on our consciousness. So they're really putting him, and they put that jacket out there. So that's what I'm talking about. The jacket connects to a lot of other dots. It was very significant. On an occulted level, that's what we do here. We uncover the occult. No longer occult. Occult means hidden. And so, yeah, the title of my decode is Damar Hamlin, Takashi Murakami, Travis Scott, Astro World, and the next Super Bowl, which is 58. So, yeah, Super Bowl, as we all know, Super Bowl 57 just concluded, and we know the importance of Super Bowl. They're saying that the Super Bowl was the third highest rated, but just in general, this is like 113 million viewers, but just to give a perspective, that's roughly a third of the United States population. And when you consider how many people they're too young or just aren't interested in football, or they're not even Americans aren't all into football, and there's so many people in this country who are not American, it's not part of their culture. So a third of the population, 113 million viewers, is a really big deal. A lot of those had to do with the halftime performer, but that's the importance of the Super Bowl. When you have that much human energy concentrated, focused on one area, I mean, no magician, which is what these people are, would waste that opportunity. It's a golden opportunity to perform. So whatever they put on our conscious during the Super Bowl, it's something that's going to resonate on a vibrational level. And the importance of the Super Bowl is beyond sports. And so I'm uncovering here some of the occult aspects of it. So this is the 103rd NFL season that just concluded, and the story, the defining story and personality of this past 103rd NFL season, by far, is Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin transcended football. He transcended sports. He literally became a national American idol. He became a national idol. Well, because they made him into it. The media, they want him on our conscious. And so this is the season of Damar Hamlin. And so, I mean, I don't think it was that hard a thing to predict that he would be at the Super Bowl, at the pregame, and he was given a standing ovation. But, of course, with all the attention, they've already hyped Damar Hamlin to bring him to this point, to make him this important to the nation. And then to this event, which is the highest yearly in the United States. This is the moment the highest concentration of masses into one area. So there was Damar Hamlin in this jacket. So we're supposed to see this jacket. Whatever vibration it's putting out there, that's for the country to absorb. Which, again, when I saw that, I said, last week, I said, I would look more into the jacket and what it meant. And it appeared to be, it's a depiction, a cartoon depiction of Jesus Christ on the cross, and on the back, he's on the cross with the nails, but it's a cartoon rendition, and it doesn't look very flattering. Now, I know his eyes are crossed and eyes are rolling in his head, and, so it's, in general, it's not something a Christian would wear, let's put it that way. I mean, definitely not something a Christian would think is praising Jesus, but there's Damar Hamlin, who himself is a Jesus figure, which I said earlier. He's Hiram Abiff of Freemasonry, who is based on Horus of ancient Egypt, who is the resurrected Osiris. This existed millennia before the Christian story of Jesus. It's the same story. It's based on the sun returning at the vernal equinox and the rebirth of the sun, and what zodiac sign occurs at the rebirth of the sun. It's Aries. So what zodiac sign is Damar Hamlin? Well, he's Aries. That's perfect for the ritual. He's the risen sun. He's Aries. Aries is time when the sun comes back. So there he is with the Jesus jacket, who Jesus is the risen sun, S-O-N-S-U-N. But this is not in a flattering depiction. And the artist who made this depiction that Damar Hamlin showed the world his name is Takashi Murakami. And if you look at his work, it's not very, it's not positive. I mean, you can say, well, art depends how you interpret it. No, anyone who look at his work, I mean, some of his work is, it's okay, but some of it is very dark, especially the most famous ones that celebrities use. So he did the animated video, and I shout out to Elizabeth, one of my patrons. She's the one who pointed me to the connection between Takashi Murakami and Billie Eilish's You Should See Me in a Crown, which I decoded at length because it was connected to Queen Elizabeth's death. The imagery on You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish was spiders crawling all over a crown. And that was done in 2018. The Queen died in 2022, and there was a spider crawling near her crown, and there was so there's a synchronicity there. And there were two videos for You Should See Me in a Crown. One was animated, one was non-animated. Takashi Murakami, who designed the image on Damar Hamlin's jacket, he did the animated video. So there were two different videos. The animated video of Billie Eilish, You Should See Me in a Crown. And in that video, Billie Eilish basically turns into a hideous spider. There's nothing positive, nothing flattering about that video. It is dark. I guess in religious terms, you'd say satanic. Of course, Takashi Murakami did not direct the other video, but the whole You Should See Me in a Crown is extremely dark, which I'll get to that. And this is not special effects. Billie Eilish had a tarantula in her mouth. She opened her mouth and a tarantula came out. And that imagery, as I'll show in this decode, it ties into Travis Scott. So the image that Travis Scott had on that Damar Hamlin had on his jacket at the Super Bowl, it Takashi Murakami calls the art piece Travis Jesus. The reason Takashi Murakami calls the image Travis Jesus is because he made it specifically for Travis Scott, who identifies with Jesus. He has a cross tattoo on his neck. So this is something that Travis Scott referred to himself as before this. He referred to himself as Travis Jesus. So Takashi Murakami obliged him and made an art piece specifically for Travis Scott. And I show an Instagram post from Takashi Murakami's Instagram account where he says, quote, "I designed the artwork for this Jesus piece for Travis Scott." So there's no doubt there. It's not like, oh, Travis, and then you could make the connection. No, Murakami says, no, this was made for Travis Scott. So that's a direct connection, which for Damar Hamlin, this connects him to Travis Scott directly. It's the same image. And the irony is, Travis Scott is way more popular, not just in the United States, globally, because the hip-hop stars are, you know, some of the biggest, most recognizable people, especially among the youth of the entire world. Hip-hop dominates world youth culture. So Travis Scott is way better known than Damar Hamlin, who only has publicity because of his incident. But the irony is that Damar Hamlin has made this artwork more famous than Travis Scott did, even though it was made for Travis Scott. And that was in 2021. So this is even before the Astroland disaster, which was in November. So this Instagram post is in January of 2021. And the Astroworld disaster would happen in November that same year. So this is before that. So as famous as Travis Scott is, it's actually Damar Hamlin who made the art piece as famous as it is. Well, now it's Travis Jesus is. It is, you know, what it is. So this is a comparison between Takashi Murakami's he connects these two. Billie Eilish, since he did "You Should See Me in a Crowd," her song, and he made the art piece for Travis Scott. He connected to the two, but you see the similar imagery that Billie Eilish and Travis Scott have of the open mouth. So Travis Scott, this is his popular, best-selling. This is what actually put him, you know, on top album, Astroworld, and the cover has, you know, Travis Scott, a balloon. Basically, it's a portal into this Astroworld amusement park, which looks pretty dilapidated, and it is a common image icon. It's actually going back centuries to medieval times, but so it didn't start here. And then there's Billie Eilish with her mouth open, and this is not special effects. She really did have a spider crawl out of her mouth. So this is just a freeze frame from her video. But you can see the similarity. And what do they both have in common? Takashi Murakami. So he's not like the most warm and fuzzy guy when you see the images that are associated with him. And so Travis Scott is connected to the NFL. In a Super Bowl 53, Travis Scott performed at halftime. And that was on February 3rd, 2019. Travis Scott was a Super Bowl halftime performer. So now there's more. You know, so Travis Scott is just not connected through the jacket habit. He actually has been connected to the Super Bowl. That was in 2019. And the Astroworld album was released on August 3rd, 2018, 6 months before Travis Scott performed at the Super Bowl. And so the album art is interesting for Astroworld because it features strings of pennants. Some strings are red and blue pennants. The others are blue and yellow pennants. So the colors are very significant. Red and blue, blue and yellow. This is on Travis Scott's Astroworld album, 6 months before he was going to perform at halftime at the next Super Bowl, which happened to be between teams that wear red and blue and yellow. Astroworld it predicted, it told you who would be in the Super Bowl. There was going to be it told you at least the colors anyway. I mean, it could be different combinations of teams. Astroworld told you it was going to be between a red and blue team, which was the New England Patriots. That's how it turned out to be, and a blue and yellow team, which turned out to be the Los Angeles Rams. So there's clear predictive programming. that was on Astroworld. This kind of prediction programming I've seen before. In fact, I actually told someone about it. They actually made money off it and made a bet and actually gave me some of their winnings. I was thankful. They said, yeah, here's some of the winnings, thank you, because I had said that you got to look out for these sort of things. The FIFA, which is the world governing body for soccer, international soccer, they had a quadrennial World Cup, which is the biggest sporting event in the world. And they had a promotional video that they put out, I think it was around at least 3 months around before the World Cup started. And the promotional video ended with some celebratory balloons in the background of a soccer museum. And the balloons were sky blue and white. And based on that, I said, if they're celebrating, these are celebratory balloons. The video, it starts in this museum. It's a football soccer museum, but in the beginning, there are no decorations in the background. At the end of the video, suddenly there are these sky blue and white balloons in the background. And I said, what they're doing is they're celebrating, who wears sky blue and white. Most likely it's Argentina. Those are their flags. The other country would be Uruguay, who are not as favored. And based on that, I said, I think they're telling you who will win the World Cup. And this is very similar to what Travis Scott did with Astroworld. He was telling you on the cover, because he performed at the halftime of that Super Bowl. He told you who would be there, a red and blue team versus a blue and yellow team. And it was the Patriots and the Rams. Just as, I guess it's something they do. You got to look out for it. This is as FIFA did. And somebody made a bunch of money. I told them, no, they're telling you that Argentina is going to win. And Argentina won with their sky blue and white. So the red and blue and the blue and yellow also tie into Damar Hamlin. This brings Damar Hamlin back in. So Damar Hamlin, you can see on an occulted level, he's very much attached to this because Damar Hamlin played college ball at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, the Panthers, whose colors are blue and yellow, and now plays for the Buffalo Bills, the NFL, whose colors are red and blue. So again, so he ties into the cover of Astroworld in that way as well. And the main event that has been going on in the world is the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, and these two colors schemes on these strings of pens tie into that as well. The red and blue is Russia, that's the Russian flag, and the blue and yellow is Ukraine. So it's interesting how it also ties into the Russo-Ukrainian conflict as well. And there's, on that front, if you look at the Astroworld cover, there's a rocket there as well. That could tie into that, because a rocket could be a rocket of war, a missile. And the Roman god of war is Mars. And there's a statue in the back that looks very similar to looks like a Roman soldier. And he's holding, you can't really see it that clearly, he's holding a sword in his right hand, because I saw pictures of that same statue. I was looking at the different images of Astroworld, where they actually have from the opposite angle, and clearly he's holding a sword. So this is a warrior. It looks like it could be Mars. Mars is the god of war. And if you look at the glyph for Mars, it's an arrow. It's a circle with an arrow. And on the cover of Astroworld, there is an arrow. So that could refer to Mars. And again, the colors could refer to the Russo-Ukrainian conflict, red and blue versus blue and yellow, just like it did for the Super Bowl, Patriots-Rams, where Travis Scott did perform. And that was in 2019. Super Bowl 53, where he performed. So 2019 is a big number. If you take the release date of Astroworld album, August 3rd, we got 83, 38, in 2018, to the next Super Bowl, which will be in Las Vegas on February 11th, 2024. That span, from beginning through the end and including end, is 2019 days. 2019 isn't it? Because 2019, that's the year that Travis Scott performed at a Super Bowl. And so the number 2019 ties into Super Bowl, from the release of the album to the next Super Bowl, 2019. Interesting synchronicity there. And the next Super Bowl will be on February 11th, 2024, which is it's a Super Bowl number in Gematria. February 11th could be 11th February, 112 or 211. And Super Bowl is 112. And there's so much when it comes to Las Vegas, there's so much to decode there. I've already decoded Las Vegas. There's so much more. Who knows how that will tie into the Super Bowl? But one major event, in fact, to date, the biggest story coming out of Las Vegas that is related to the NFL, directly, at least to the Raiders anyway. I guess you could say O.J. Simpson is he's an NFL connection. But outside of O.J. Simpson, who was arrested, and jailed in Las Vegas, the biggest NFL-related story with Las Vegas was the Henry Ruggs car crash. He was a wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders, and he was involved in a car crash. They said he was driving 156 miles an hour in the middle of downtown Las Vegas, and he killed a woman and her dog. And this was on November 2nd, 2021. Now, November 2nd, that's the other 112-211 number. Super Bowl 112, and the next Super Bowl is going to be on 112-211. Well, the other 112-211 is the date on which Henry Ruggs, this is the biggest story of the NFL that has come so far out of Las Vegas. And so the media and the Las Vegas police put out photographs of the crash scene, and I gave an example. You can see Henry Ruggs' crashed car. The other car was engulfed in flames, and Tina Tintor, that was her name, she died in the inferno. But if we go back to the cover of Astroworld, and Astroworld depicts a very similar scene to the crashed car of Henry Ruggs. So, I don't know, there is clearly tied Travis Scott to Super Bowls. And yeah, this is a very reminiscent scene of the crashed cars. So there seems to be a lot of predictive aspects, clearly, to Astroworld and the cover of that. And so the victim of the Henry Ruggs crash, her name, and her dog also died. And whenever you see a dog in a story, there's so much more to this. I think that I really have like hours to decode on this, because I've already done this. When you see a dog, it's a reference to the dog star, not always, but most of the time on an occulted level, the dog star Sirius, which is a sacred star. It's been sacred to many ancient cultures. It's sacred to the United States and the founders of the United States. It's still sacred here as well. And I haven't included that here. I can show it in other decodes. The Las Vegas Raiders headquarters, 5 miles away from their headquarters in Paradise, Las Vegas, is Sirius Star Street. That's not hidden. That's not even occulted. So, and there's more. I can go on and on with how Washington, D.C. is coded with Sirius. So when you see a dog, Sirius is a sacred star, and it's called the dog star. So Tina Tintor, she died with her dog, and Sirius, and that's some serious imagery. And if you see a lot of Travis Scott's, even if all you do is just put in Travis Scott and just look at the images, he's very often with a dog. He's depicted with dogs often. So the Sirius dog star connection is very strong here. But so the victim of the crash was Tina Tintor with her dog. That's the name, Tintor. The 9th song on Astroworld is called 5% Tint. Now, Tint is, that's short for Tintor, who was the victim of the crash by Ruggs. And the cover of the album looks like there's a very similar scene to the crash. So yeah, 5% Tint, maybe it's a coincidence, but that sounds like Tintor. And again, Super Bowl is 112 in Gematria. The next Super Bowl will be on 112/211. This is the biggest NFL-related news in Las Vegas happened on 112/211, November 2nd, or 2nd November. And again, go back to the similarities between the open mouth symbol of Travis Scott and Astroworld and Billie Eilish, both connected by Takashi Murakami. He's connected to both of them. But this open mouth, I think there's a lot more to this open mouth. It's not something they started. In ancient Egypt, and what does, if you think of Las Vegas, think of all the ancient Egyptian symbolism they have. They have a replica pyramid. They have a sphinx. They have an obelisk. It's over the top. With their, so ancient Egypt coding is very significant. Without even mentioning the whole Stephen Paddock thing, that is very well tied in as well. Again, there's so much you can do with Las Vegas. It's basically, I don't know if there is a location more rich with esoteric symbolism than Las Vegas. But the open mouth, there's actually a ceremony, and I show the Wikipedia page to show that actually is a title. It's called Opening of the Mouth Ceremony. This was a funerary practice in ancient Egypt. What they did was they'd make a statue, an effigy of the deceased, and they would open its mouth. And that would symbolically enable the deceased to eat and to breathe in the afterlife. And I think about the significance of enabling this entity to breathe. Well, at the Travis Scott Astroworld disaster, it was a crowd crush, and 10 people officially died of asphyxiation. So what's the irony of that? Because to enter the venue, you had to go through this mouth of Travis Scott, and the opening of the mouth in ancient Egypt, that was done to enable the entity to breathe. And then so people go through the mouth, and ironically they do the opposite, and they die unable to breathe. And they're fully conscious of this kind of irony. It's not a coincidence, but opening of the mouth ceremony, it's an actual thing. And it wasn't negative, like they could put a negative or positive spin on anything. It wasn't a negative ceremony, but they've made it negative. And so if you do the gematria of opening of the mouth, which was this is the title. I'm not just putting words together to get the number. That's why I showed the Wikipedia page to show it. This is the title, opening of the mouth. That is the name of the ceremony. Okay, comes to 211. Like the date of the next Super Bowl, like the date of the Henry Ruggs Tina Tintor crash. Astroworld Festival, comes to 112. Again, like the date of the crash, the date of the Super Bowl. You Should See Me in a Crown, comes to 112. Now, what are the odds? Astroworld Festival, You Should See Me in a Crown, both 112, and they both use that open mouth. Oh, be right back.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. With the whole world watching, who do you believe?
So let me just say that there was no collusion at all. Everybody knows it. I'd be Hillary Clinton. People know that. But the main thing, there was no collusion. There's zero collusion. With that being said, all I can do is ask the question: what happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question: what happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? Where is the server? What is the server saying? Where is the server? I don't think you can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What server? I really do want to see the server. What is the server saying? Where is the server? I don't think you can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What server? I really do want to see the server. 33,000 emails have gone, just gone. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. But I will tell you that President Putin is extremely strong and powerful in his denial of the thing. That being said, all I can do is ask the question: what happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? That being said, all I can do is What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? Where is the server? What is the server saying? Where is the server? I don't think you can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What server? We want to see the server.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The Wicked One, obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Conditional range. Conditional range. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal.
More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back. We got 2 hours of show left. We'll be taking your calls the rest of the night. But first, Rambo's got to finish his latest piece. You're back on, friend.
Yeah, I was almost done. So at Super Bowl 52, at which Travis Scott appeared and performed with Maroon 5. And, the predictive programming was clear on his album. Who would be, it wasn't exact, but what colors the two teams would be wearing was pretty on his album, clearly. Well, alongside him at the halftime performance was Maroon 5, who sang their song Harder to Breathe. And the Super Bowl was February 3rd, 2019. The Astroland asphyxiation disaster was November 5th, 2021. So Harder to Breathe, again, in line with the irony of this opening of the mouth, this ceremony, which is about enabling breathing. Yeah, there's a lot more to this, but
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. They said the people died from asphyxiation, so yeah, great observations. Just looking at next year's logo they got for the Super Bowl with the purple and kind of like the Chiefs tin in there. It just reminds me of Super Bowl 4 between the Vikings and Chiefs. And if the Chiefs did win the
what's the Chiefs connection?
Super Bowl 4 was the Vikings and the Chiefs. You got purple and red. Yeah, so I'm saying that was Super Bowl 4. If the Chiefs won the Super Bowl next year, they'd become 4-2 in Super Bowls on the 42nd day of the year, and then the date's 11/2. Chiefs equals 112 in Gematria, like Super Bowl. And the last 2 times that they've won the Super Bowl, there's been a 112 connection in both of them. So that's my early first thought. It's the first time I've seen the Super Bowl 58 logo, and yeah, it's just that's what sparks my mind. So.
Yeah, I'll look at also this arrow that they have on the cover of Astroworld. It's red and yellow. And I think there's a lot more to that arrow. And this kid is, the red and yellow is pretty prominent here as well. I don't know if these pendants will come into play again, but yeah, it's speculation. But it definitely came into play for Super Bowl 53, without a doubt.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, great observations as always. Was there anything else you want to add in tonight, Rambo?
No, there's a ton of stuff to that, especially when you deal with Las Vegas. I guess real quick, I'd say that the stage that Travis Scott was on at Astroworld Crush is actually the upside down cross, which is St. Peter's cross.
Yeah.
And St. Peter, that's the symbol of, in legend. St. Peter was crucified upside down. That's why St. Peter cross is the upside down cross, and in tarot, that is the hanged man. He's upside down. And the hanged has to do with breathing. It's obvious that Astroworld was, I mean, it's so obvious. But that was it. The reason they had the upside down cross, St. Peter's cross, which is the hanged man, that's why they had it at the mass asphyxiation.
Yeah, that makes
and again,
sense.
St. Peter is also who venerates St. Peter. It's, the Catholics, Jesuits venerate St. Peter.
And the Travis Scott thing happened on Guy Fawkes Day, and then a year to the day later, the Houston Astros won the World Series on that day. And when they started the World Series, there was no game scheduled for November 5th, but it got changed to that because of the rained-out game, which is where the weather warfare thing comes in. But yeah, World Series has that 57 Gematria, then it's Super Bowl 57. That's the thing, too. If Houston does make it back to the World Series this year, they will have gone to 5 of the last 7 World Series. The last time the Eagles were in the Super Bowl, the Astros were also in the World Series. So, all kinds of parallels.
Yeah, it's also the 115, 5th November. It's also Las Vegas is on the 115th meridian, so yeah, that's a relation.
Oh, I was overlooking that. Raiders equals 115, so the Vegas is on the 115th meridian. Huh, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, that's perfect. Raiders 115.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot to consider.
All right. I loved Argentina for the World Cup to win. I didn't even know about the the commercial with the color scheme with the balloons that are Argentinos, but God, talk about what a dead giveaway. So.
So sometimes you notice things after the fact, but no, I noticed it ahead of time. I didn't know somebody was going to make a bet. They made a pretty decent-sized bet, and they won, and they were appreciative enough to give me a nice, generous portion of it. This is what they do. So it's, you need to look out for these little artwork. Remember the NFL, I think it was Instagram, where they put out the NFL Christmas party? You remember that one?
They do it every year. This year they had Santa Claus wearing an Eagles hat and holding a Kansas City Chief dressed little boy in the lap. That was this year the NFL's Christmas post, telling you what the Super Bowl was.
Yep. Yeah, so you gotta look out for all this artwork that's put out there.
Indeed. They put the clues everywhere. It's like almost a litmus test to see who's paying attention. So, all right, great work as always, Rambo. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
All right, keep up the good work. You guys, if you're not subbed to Rambo's channel, he is on YouTube, The Truth Codes. All right, Rambo, have a good one.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay, let's see. Next in line, we're going out to the callers now. We got about 10 people in line, starting with 216. 216, you're on.
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm calling in because I wanted to ask you if you had heard about, I'm from Cleveland, as you see, with the 216 area code, about the explosion in Bedford, Ohio, at a metal plant. And then it was 5 environmental health workers that were flying in from Arkansas that got killed in the plane crash on their way here to go to the metal plant where the explosion was. Have you heard anything about any of that stuff?
Yeah, I covered it on my Twitter. The explosion happened on a date with 65 numerology, and Bedford, Ohio equals 65. And I need to look into it more, but the information you just gave me is additional information. So I'll do a follow-up on that.
Yeah, because I found that very interesting that the environmental health workers that were flying in from Arkansas, all died. All of them died in a plane crash. They said it was a 2-engine plane. And yeah, so it crashed by 3M in Arkansas.
Okay.
And they said that it was 5 people on board and there were no survivors.
Yeah, I didn't have that detail. I'll look into that.
Okay, but I listen every week. This is my first time calling in. I've been following you actually for years, so.
Well, it's good to know you're out there, and I appreciate the call and the question because I actually meant to look into this more, so it's a good reminder. Thank you.
You are welcome. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right. Reminds me when I went out to Cleveland on the way to New York City, met a lot of good people. Shout out to the Cleveland people. 803, you're on.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, Zach.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, got any update on, I think you said you're supposed to do an interview with Dan Calloway?
Yeah, I reached out to him since the Super Bowl. I said now would be a perfect time to talk about what we've been planning on talking about. We were going to talk about black quarterbacks and Native American history in the NFL, and we've been, that stream's been planned for like the whole football season that's gone by now, and we have another example in the Super Bowl. I don't know, man. I don't know why. He even promoted it on his own channel. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why he hasn't had me on yet, so.
That's weird. There was also, have you heard a YouTuber named Data Productions and Media?
That name is super familiar, so I must have. I'm trying to think. Are they the one that does like all the Tupac death videos? Maybe I'm just thinking of somebody else.
No, he does Gematria's, and then it's D. Art Turner, but he focuses mostly on like stocks and like sports, like documentaries using Gematria. But I think he wanted to do an interview with you about interview or a collab about like using stocks, using Gematria, like predicting the stock market and stuff. So
sure.
I just want to let you know.
Sure. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I am sub to his channel. I looked it up. Yeah, I'm happy to collaborate with him. And again, you guys, I also reached out to Derek today. I told Derek that it sounds like a lot of people are interested in the investing thing. So he's looking into right now how to pull all the stock tickers into the database so that you can sort tickers by their Gematria values. It's just like all day that the big hype in the market today was on what was going to be the NVIDIA financial report. And I just knew all day, I was like, watch, it's going to be a really good report, and it'll probably stand well for how they open up tomorrow, because their stock ticker's NVID, which equals 22 in the most pure cipher. Here we are on the 22nd, and when you run it in reverse, it's 23. I was like, this is the perfect day for the hype and in the future for tomorrow. And if you look at their future for tomorrow, it's supposed to go up quite a bit. But yeah, I'm just, again, I've been looking at the market for a long time. I'm going to start looking a lot more. But I think the stock market has a lot of potential with the whole knowledge of Gematria. And anybody else who wants to work on this project, I'm happy to collaborate. So.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Anything else going on?
That's all I have.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. You have a good night. All right, take care.
Take care.
Let's go out to 734. 734. Uh-oh. 734 got on and then they just hung up. 607.
Yo, what's up, Zach?
Yeah, what's going on?
I didn't hear you say my number, but
That's why I paused a little bit. But so today has 67 date numerology.
Right.
And this is, I guess, a shout out to all the stock traders out there. This is at them, kind of, because I feel like they may think that investing in stocks is like the only legit way to actually invest in the market. You have to look at sports teams like stocks, because it's pretty much the exact same thing, just in a different format. But so today has 67 date numerology, and the New York Islanders, they became, with the win, 30-31 for the season. And 30-31 is like 331, and 331 is the 67th prime number. The Islanders were playing the Jets, and the Islanders are from New York, like the New York Jets, but the hockey team is called the Winnipeg Jets.
Right.
And so you think Jets, you think connection to 9/11. And sure enough, there was a connection to 9/11, because today is 222.
Right.
And 67 is the 19th prime, and 19 makes you think COVID-19. And we know the Jets on 9/11 striking the Twin Towers was connected to COVID-19, because exactly 222 months after the fucking pandemic.
Or after 9/11. From 9/11 to the
was,
pandemic being declared, 222 months. And New York's 222.
Yeah.
Like Wuhan coronavirus, like order
Yeah.
out of chaos. Yeah.
222 on the dot, and so today is 222. So it's the perfect day for a 9/11 type ritual. And the Islanders also got to 67 points. And in the most pure cipher of Gematria, September 11th equals 67. And but it even gets deeper than this. Really, the only thing you needed to call the game was seeing 331, 67 points on 67 date numerology, and 331 to 67 prime. But it's so much like, even like a seemingly meaningless regular season game, like if you can find the deep, perfect riddle, like, because they're hinting at something. Every game, they're hinting like at something. It's like you said, Super Bowls are like a history lesson. But also regular season pro sports games are also like, you just have to find that. Because you remember when you covered his name was Mike Bossy for the Islanders, who won 4 straight Stanley Cups in the 80s, and the last of which was in 83, and he died 83 days after his birthday, just this past year.
Right.
Well, 67 is the blood sacrifice number. So knowing that, I was like, wow, there's a lot of 67. What could the 67 blood sacrifice be related to? I'm like, oh, well, an Islanders player who was big, Mike Bossy, just died. And I do the span from the day he died, which is April 15th of 2022. He dies April 15th. From then to today is 313 days. And 313 is the 65th prime number. The Islanders came in with 65 points, and his full name, Bossy's full name, is 65 in the most pure cipher. But it's also a 53-day total span to the 1-year anniversary of Mike Bossy dying, and it's the 53rd day of the year. And today also had 47 date numerology. And the Jets became 15-15 on the road, and 47 is the 15th prime. So my point is, if you can really find what they're doing, like sometimes you might have like one parallel, but if you have like a laundry list of things going for like the one team, like you always say, that's what's going to happen, and you can make money by putting like big money on like games.
Sure. Had you put
like
$5 this weekend on what's his face, who won the race, who paid 35 to 1. Again, he won the race in 212 laps. His name equals 212. And then his owner, Brad Doherty's 57 years old. And we're talking about the same thing. Every year there's a major parallel between the Super Bowl and the Daytona 500. This year it was Super Bowl 57 on 212. This year it's the driver whose name who equals 212, winning in 212 laps. And you had the first Super Bowl, 2 black quarterbacks. Now you get the first black NASCAR owner at age 57. And again, what's his name? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But yeah, he paid over 30 to 1. And again, I mean, it's hard to hit on a stock in a day and go 30 times your money. I don't know if that's ever actually happened in the history of stocks, but you know, these things like golf tournaments, we've seen so many golf guys with 40 to 1 odds who had a great riddle win the tournament. Again, that's the beauty of this knowledge. It applies from the rig sports game to the rig market to the rig news story. I've never come across a knowledge that opens so many doors as does this Kabbalistic code of Gematria. So,
yeah, right on, Zach. And even just decode your local news. If it's anything like where I live, it's all by the numbers. So, yeah, they're using this code far and wide. So,
Indeed.
all right, Zach.
Indeed.
Keep up the good work, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, peace.
Speaking of the whole 222, that was like the number of the pandemic. And think about how the medical world and the big tech world took over in the time of the pandemic. I find it very interesting that today, 2/22, you have Amazon announce that they closed a $3.9 billion deal for the online medical company One Medical. And keep in mind, today has 47 date numerology. Of course, Seattle's the city on the 47th parallel. You just had the former WNBA player who played for the Seattle Storm die in a 47 ritual at the beginning of the month. But huge number in Seattle is 47, where Amazon's headquartered. The stock ticker for One Medical is 1M, which equals 47. So what a day for the Seattle-based Amazon to make this acquisition. And then at the same time, Apple and the Taiwan Semiconductor Company, today Bloomberg breaks the news that they're real close to having their Apple Watch be able to read people's blood glucose levels. And again, in a world where more and more people are getting diabetes at younger and younger ages, I can just see the future generation of second graders that already have diabetes because their moms were too afraid to let them go outside for Amber Alerts and all they could afford were Cheetos, you know. But I can just see a future generation where everyone has diabetes and they're all outside with their Apple Watches on, monitoring their glucose level for the day. And again, and I mean, think about what COVID did. It scared everybody, made them stay in the home, sit in front of the screen. But today, being the 22nd, Apple has the Gematria of 22, and the ticker for the Taiwan Semiconductor Company is TSMC, which equals 53. Here we are on the 53rd day of the year. So, anyhow, news, markets, sports, stocks, Gematria. What connects it all? And again, just 222. That was the number of the pandemic that grew the big tech companies to record proportions, grew the medical industry to record proportions, and there's no sign. Well, you could say that, you know, some of those things have cooled off, but you know, going in the future, they're just going to continue to get bigger and more gaudy. So, anyhow, let's go out to the next caller, and that is 419. 419, you're on. $419? Okay, maybe just listening. Let's go out to North Carolina, 980, you're on.
Zach, what's going on, bud?
Yeah, what's up?
Not much. How's it going, brother? Hey, I got a quick one I've seen on the news today. You know that what you say just never fails. Something told me, I'm looking at this turned across the news. I look, it says, UK study points to benefits of 4-day work week. Something said, man, she said, but what was so crazy is that she said, well, 61 companies participated in this. So once I heard her say 61, that made me look at the screen. So I'll just immediately put 4-day work week into the calculator. Sure enough, it was 61. I knew it was going to be 61. I said, damn, this shit just don't feel. I was like, why would she just say 61 companies? So I was trying to figure out what you think 61 is for. Because actually benefit is 61 as well. Because it says UK study points to benefit 4-day work week. So I put the benefit in, that's 61. Then just so happened to put the UK study in, it's 22, like today.
Well, 61 is the 18th prime and job equals 18. If you actually spell it out as words, 4-day work week, that equals 201. Big Jesuit number. They want less carbon emissions. If they got less people driving to work on less days, that's going to fit in with the agenda. So...
yeah, well, then I knew it was today. I said, well, man, today is 222, man. I said, it's going to probably be something crazy, but that's what made me say, let me see if they're going to do something in the news. And it was just so ironic. As soon as she said the number, so I'm starting to realize what you have to listen for is the numbers on the news. And if you think about it, they always report numbers. And they always go to these specific numbers. They never round off numbers. Like they'll never be like, it's over 60 companies participated. No, 61 companies participated.
Right. Very specific numbers always.
You know what's crazy? They never told you what the benefit was, no nothing.
Yeah.
They never even really talked about the story. They just wanted to report it.
Right. Yeah.
And then she said all but one company. I need to see if something say 60 because she said all but one company.
Yeah.
Stuck to the program.
Yeah, good observation.
Yeah, so I was wondering if it was 61 something special because I'm like 61. It must be something with 61 for them today.
Yeah, I mean, that is a special number in itself. It's the number from sacred geometry that represents the flower of life, which is related to God, and again, comes back to money.
Well, I think you nailed it. I think you answered my question though, because you said job is 18 and job is the
exactly
61 is the 18th prime, right?
Exactly. We got a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
I got a good philosophical statement for you. Life was designed to respond, to deserve, not to need. On this planet, it doesn't read, if you need, you will reap. No, it reads, if you plant, you will reap. You say, well, I really need to reap. Then you really need to plant. Life wasn't designed for the needers. Life was designed for the planters. Life doesn't respond to what we need. Life responds to what we deserve by activity, belief, faith, action, movement. You gotta take a step. So one of the things to make clear when you're bringing somebody on board is say, Mary, if you step, we do these things. If you take 3 steps, we go this, this, and this, and this. And if you do this, we do all of this. But if you don't move, we don't move. It's very important to make it clear. Why? Because everybody needs to pay. Everybody needs to pay. Even if the payment is only token, it has to be paid. Because life responds to deserve.
Extendivite is more than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks, do your legs get aches and pains? Is your memory worse than it used to be? Ankles that swell late in the day? Has your blood pressure increased lately? If you answered yes to even one of these questions, you may have early warning signs of arterial blockages. Your body is saying that it is time to take Extendivite. These are not the normal signs of aging. They are the warning signs that accompany blocked arteries. Get your Extendivite today. Extendivite is available in capsule or liquid form for just $69.95 for a 2-month supply. To get started, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Jim Ram, retired. In early 2012, I was facing a laundry list of chronic health conditions that my physician was telling me were incurable. I knew there had to be a better way, and I learned how I could reverse every one of my ailments with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. In just a few months, I was able to reverse high blood pressure, gastric reflux, sleep apnea, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, heart arrhythmia, AFib, and many more. And I've lost over 70 pounds and kept it off. Now I'm hosting a radio program that's dedicated to helping my listeners do the same. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you're sick of being used as an ATM by your doctor, then you'll want to tune into the Your DIY Health radio program here on Truth Frequency Radio every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern and 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, we're back, True Seeker. Over the break, somebody asked me what kind of music I listen to. These days, I'm mostly listening to information, so I don't find that I have a lot of time to even listen to music. But yeah, I've always had a diverse taste in music. I like most genres. I'm not real crazy about country music though, and I also don't like really loud music where they're screaming and the lyrics are, in my opinion, impossible to understand. That's never really been my thing. But yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot of music these days. I'm always listening to other people speaking, to be perfectly honest. That said, I used to listen to Sirius XM Soultown a lot when I was driving around for Uber and Lyft. However, I feel like they stopped playing the great songs on there. They used to play a lot of the Shy Lights. I like the Shy Lights. And it's I never hear the Shy Lights on there anymore, so now I just go to some information to listen to. Anyway, let's get back out to the callers. And 980 had just finished his thought about the 4-day work week. And appreciate it as always, 980. Let's go out to 252. What's going on?
Yeah, Jack, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, what's up? I want to talk about, the usual sports and shit. But, I'm thinking for the next Super Bowl, I've been looking at it for about a week now. I think the Jags probably have a good shot because, all that going on. Y'all, you do know it's Super Bowl 58 and 54 to the modern era, right?
54th of the modern era, that's right.
Yeah, 58, 54, both connections to Kobe, obviously. And we saw how this year Jalen Hurts had the 212, went to the Super Bowl. We seen it the year before. And we possibly could see it again because Jalen Alexander Hurts also equals 112. So we could see it again for a third year in a row. But the reason I talk about the Jaguars is obviously they have the old coach of the Eagles, and it was a lot with them. Douglas Peterson, his full name equals 103 and 113. And obviously, 1/3 NFL season, and that's connected to Kobe. But it's also Jaguars equals 112. And so does, so is the Daddy, obviously, 112. Jaguars is 112. It also equals 23 in the same cipher as Vegas, 49 and 23 in the same cipher as Vegas.
Imagine this. It's the AFC Championship. You got the Chiefs and the Jaguars, the two 1-1-2 teams. Mahomes with the Chiefs that can become 4-2 on the 42nd day of the year versus Trevor Lawrence with the long blonde hair and the blue eyes. What makes more sense?
I know it's Mahomes, but I probably look at this because I was looking at I just been looking at the parallels, man. I probably say the Jaguars Based on what I've been seeing.
I would be taking the Chiefs all day. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could have been foreshadowing this year with the 129, because William Trevor Lawrence's full name is 129. And another thing I had to add with 129, the Super Bowl is 1,290 days from the day that Allegiant opened to that Super Bowl, like 129. And William Trevor Lawrence is 129. But that also opened on Lil Uzi Vert's birthday, and we know how closely connected he is to Kobe because he dropped his album the year Kobe died, 47 days after his birthday, or 47 days after his death anniversary, which is the 15th prime, and Kobe's 15 and the most pure. And the date of that album was also 313, like the 65th prime, obviously Philadelphia 65. And so yeah, I just was looking at all of that, opening on his birthday. And you remember Clarence Gilliard when he died on the Beast Ritual Connection?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he died 64 days before Doug Peterson's birthday and 440 days before the Super Bowl. That could be a coincidence, that could be a reach, but 64 and 44, we know what those numbers are. And obviously, his full name equals 112 and 211, so it's even two connections, 112 and 211. But so yeah, that was what I seen with that. Also, the Super Bowl is 74 days after Jaguar Day, which is kind of interesting. And then also Jaguars at 77. We also saw the death of number 77, and there was some 77s, but I probably can't remember. I'm not even going about that. But that dude also brought up another thing I had. That dude also brought up about the 9/11. And how in sports there's always big rituals, and So in my decode the other day, or the day before the All-Star break, that was February the 16th. That was the 55th anniversary of the first 911 call in Alabama. It was 158 days after 9/11 anniversary. Alabama 158, Freemasonry 158, but it was also 158 days after Kuzma's birthday. That's Kyle Kuzma, number 33. He ended up having a big game and basically leading the comeback for the Wizards and getting the upset. And the T-Wolves fell to 9-11 versus the East and fell to 5-5 at home versus them. Timberwolves 55th anniversary, Minneapolis 55, 9/11, obviously Washington. That was also the 47th day of the year. And, DC is 47 and all the 47. And one thing that is, and the T-Wolves coach picked up his 15th loss and 47th day of the year. But one thing that was kind of interesting was the Timberwolves, where they fell to 65 and 118 versus the division and versus the Wizards division, and the Wizards coach improved to 11 and 8 versus their division and 6 and 5 on the road. So 65 and 118, 11 8, 6 and 5, and Maryland was established on the 118th day of the year, and obviously, Maryland, Washington D.C., all that parallels with 9/11. And the Timberwolves fell to 31 and 30. That's like another 65, 313, 65th prime. But yeah, that's what I had. That's what I had so far for that. And Big Scar, to finish off on what I was talking about him. They just dropped his album. Kansas City Chiefs is 172. They just dropped his album on February 17th, 17-2, 57 days after his death date and 49 days before his birthday, when Eagles is 49. There's a lot going on with album releases too. And there's a lot going on with album releases because Yeet, there's a rapper named Yeet. I don't know if you know. He was born on the 57th day of the year. He's dropping his album 157 days before Lil Uzi Vert's birthday. On this February 24th, he's dropping his album. And like I said, born on the 57th day of the year, and he dropped that album on that day of the opening season, on the day after the season opened. So I mean,
that's how they do it. It's just like the year Toronto won. The Drake album from Toronto was like the same day that Kawhi went to the Raptors. So.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's what they do.
Just to talk about him dying on the 106th day of the season, 106 days for his birthday. His album, his only album, came out on the 106th day of the year.
Yeah. Movie releases, music releases by the numbers. We see how often the celebrity deaths are synced with the movies and albums they released. Yeah. All right, man. Well, great research.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's it. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right. All right. Last week he didn't pick up the phone. I think he was so shocked his Eagles lost in the Super Bowl. Are you still breathing?
Hey, listen, man. I've been enjoying this ever since the clock went 0-0-0.
Yeah, I know you would.
Enjoying it.
For people who don't know, he lives in Philadelphia, but he hates the Eagles. I was joking. But last week he did not pick up the phone when I went to you. So, yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Well, there's a couple things I want to point out. I mean, we could throw numbers around, but also there's other things that we can look at with this. First off, I think like the day, or not even a full day, like hours before the Super Bowl, what is the running back's name from the Chiefs?
Pacheco?
Pacheco. They put now YouTube went to a big like tribute, like some outbreaking running back. And I think it was less than it might have been like 12 hours before the Super Bowl. They had this big thing on him. But if you look at the names, you see how his name is spelled. There was another player that they kept focusing on. And I think his name is Nandi. Nnadi.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be like also Indian, or like a name that's from someone that's from India. So I noticed they was focusing on those things. But here's the big thing: did anyone bother to even pull up where the Super Bowl was in Glendale, Arizona? What I did was I went and pulled up Indian tribes that was in Glendale, Arizona, and a whole list came up.
Okay.
A whole list of Indian tribes came up. So that explains there to why the Kansas City Chiefs, and being inside of the Red Stadium, that the Super Bowl was going to be won by the Chiefs there.
Exactly. And then the whole China balloon the week before all synced up, and it ends up in Kansas City, and China's red, and Andy Reid's big red, and Kansas City had all the 57s. I mean, Pennsylvania just got a new governor, and he's from Kansas City, and it's the 57th governor of Missouri at the time of the Super Bowl, and he has the same birthday as Mahomes. That's all we kept pointing to, is just that all the 57s were with Kansas City. And again, like I said a million times, the only black quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl played for the Native American teams, and that precedent stayed true. So,
yeah, I mean, if people want to look at Jalen Hurts being fully black versus Mahomes being, I think, half black, and then his name Mahomes also sounds like a Indian tribal name. I don't think that they was going to let the fully black quarterback beat the mulatto black quarterback.
Right. Yeah, factors in with the racist NFL history. Yeah, we made the same point. So
exactly.
And it's like just Jalen Hurts' personality too, because like Mahomes is kind of like the bubbly guy, and when Hurts talks, he kind of like is slouched and has his shoulders shrugged, and he kind of like mumbles when he talks. It's just like he's not the face of the league. He doesn't have the Super Bowl winning image. He doesn't have. Can you imagine Jalen Hurts saying, "I'm going to Disneyland," but Mahomes will do it, and then he'll go do the Perk Plus commercial. So.
Yeah, and it's all perky and smiley and. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, right? Yeah. He's Mr. State Farm. State Farm equals 103. It's the 103rd NFL season, and he comes into the game 10-3 in the playoffs. Exits 11-3 when Eagles is 1-1-3. So.
Right. Also, speaking of that China thing, that balloon. Now, we were talking about that at work today, and someone said it was 3 balloons that were shot down.
Well, I know after the balloon thing, then they went all UFO crazy. So.
Oh, that's what that was. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they came out then they came out further and they said, well, we don't know exactly what we shot down. They could have been some private company experiments. It's like, come on, man, all this stuff is such contrived trash. You don't know what you shot down? The private company didn't reach out to you and say you shot down our project? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I wanted to see just one small little thing. So, they had this slogan here. It's a Philly thing, and I'm wondering, if that has like any connection to whatever. I didn't do I didn't put it in the Gematria calculator, but this slogan has been going on big here. Oh, by the way, next day took everything down, took the banners down, took the jerseys off, took everything off.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they did.
I'm asking what's going on. I mean, I thought you were proud, and this is. I can go on about that. I won't. But yeah, it's a Philly thing. I just, I'm not sure if you got a hold of that slogan, during the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, we were happy with the result. We liked the Chiefs in the over and Mahomes for 3 touchdowns a lot, among other things. We liked A.J. Brown. Some troll made a video saying I did horrible on futures. That troll is the worst. Our futures did well. The only thing that I was emphatic about that didn't happen was Mahomes throwing his 57th career interception. But man, that troll accused me of picking all these other things for prop bets that I didn't even pick. I said out of the 2 number 11s to score, I said A.J. Brown's the guy that makes sense. Somebody in our community did great research and found out that A.J. Brown was connected to the history of the slave trade. We're like, no wonder they got him on the Eagles this season for this whole tribute to Abe Lincoln, the president who freed the slaves. So,
really,
yeah. If you look up the name if you go on Google right now and type in A.J. Brown slavery, you'll find he's a prominent name from the time of Lincoln, having to do with the slave trade. So it's a big historical joke how he went to that team this year.
Okay. Well, I wanted to throw out to you. How the Eagles got their name. I don't know if you heard of Burt Bell, but Burt Bell was the one that actually owned the I think it was the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. Because once you reach, I'm in Philadelphia, so where I'm at, where you go a block away from here, then that will be considered outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
And that goes into Upper Darby, and then you have Darby, and then so on and so forth, and so on. Even with the last call, I mentioned something about Kobe Bryant. Kobe actually didn't grow up in Philadelphia. And my grandmother went to church with his family, with Jelly Bean and his family.
Okay.
So, but he grew up in Italy because she actually said before she passed, she said, well, he was Jelly Bean got into some trouble, and then that's how he went over to Italy. And I heard that he did not want to keep Kobe and his family here. So once that whole thing happened with Italy, he went over to Italy, and that's where he grew up. And when he went Lower Merion, is outside of Philadelphia. See, they consider all of those places PA. They don't consider those Philadelphia.
I see.
I think when some people do some decodes, they might want to reverse that. But last thing, the NRA Act is where the Eagles get their name from, because they was the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets.
I see. Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll call back in next week. But I've been enjoying this the whole time. It's been beautiful. Not sure about this 58 thing. But did the last caller said the Eagles again?
He was thinking. Sounded like he was thinking Jaguars and Eagles, maybe, but I don't know. I like the Chiefs odds right now being in the Super Bowl and getting to 4-2 on the 42nd day of the year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, man.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. You have a good night. Thank you.
You too.
And just for the record, since he brought up Burt Bell, I see that he died on the day leaving 81 days left in the year and finished his career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's connected to the Eagles and Steelers, the 2 teams from Pennsylvania that merged during World War II. But dying on the day, leaving 81 days left in the year, huge number with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers has Gematria 81. He died on his 229th day of his age as well, which is the 50th prime number, and both Pittsburgh and Steelers has that Gematria 50. So, what do you know? He died 18 years after coaching the Steelers on the day leaving 81 days left in the year. Remember when Manning won the Super Bowl in his 18th season, wearing number 18, and the first pass of the rigged Super Bowl that he won over the Broncos was an 18-yard pass to number 81? 1881. All right, let's go out to New York. 347, you're on. New York. 347. Must just be listening, or I caught him at a bad time. Let's go out to 772.
Hey, Zach. So what do you think? Because this stream was what's next. Let me just put it on the volume. Your stream was what's going to happen next. And like I've never seen this before, but like they're just doing so many bullshit stories at once. Like they're doing the whole, like they're escalating the whole Ukraine thing, saying that supposedly there's going to be supposed war, some nuclear war. They're doing the thing with the spy balloons with China. They're doing like 20 train derailments. I mean, there's already been like 5 or 10 train derailments just in the past 2 weeks. They're actually, one of the stories that maybe you can look into. There's they found a python behind a Catholic church on the train tracks. But yeah, there's been like, and we've seen how bad the Ohio one is. Like the media is not talking about it. They're saying that the air is safe and effective. While there's a bunch of videos on Bigfoot from Ray Shaw that all the fish and all the animals are dying and everything's dead there from the chemicals. Even like 100 miles away, all the chickens are dying. Like every animal that's there is dying. And then the government saying that's okay. And down they burned down a factory filled with chickens. That was like hundreds of chickens or hundreds of thousands of chickens, egg-laying chickens, and they've just been doing like one thing after the other, like all at the same time. I mean, there's been so much stuff that's happened this month. What do you think is next? What do you think it's leading to? Because I mean, this has been a pretty big thing. I've never seen this before in the news.
Well, they said that Russia's planning a big attack for the 1-year anniversary of the military intervention, which was officially February 24th, the 55th day of the year. And again, military has that Gematria 55 like Putin. And they keep doing all these rituals with nukes. At the beginning of the week, it was Putin left the nuclear treaty. And we know last year on August 6th, the anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima, the leader of the United Nations Nuclear Department, whose name also equals 201, like the leader of the United Nations, he said the nuclear threat in Russia is real. So it does seem that we're ticking down towards some kind of greater headline that does involve nukes. And Biden this week, when he was in Europe, said that if any of this touches a NATO country, the U.S. is going to become a lot more involved with its military. And really, I mean, isn't Ukraine's military our military right now? So,
yeah.
It just seems like it's a countdown to a greater escalation. I mean, all the articles that continue to be written comparing the parallels with this in World War II and how everybody stood by idly until Hitler went too far going into Poland. And again, they've been doing all the big Poland rituals this past year. It was on the 39th day of the year. We sent the missile systems to Poland. Of course, World War II began in 39 when Germany went into Poland, and then it was 39 days from Putin's birthday that the CIA said that a Russian missile hit Poland, and then the next day they retracted that and said it was actually a Ukrainian air defense missile, but it was still Russia's fault because they were defending themselves from Russia. And we're getting all these clues that of a nuclear disaster. Last year there was a lot of scares of nuclear plants melting down, and Yeah, and they've continued to do things on anniversaries too. It's just like last year on the 1 year anniversary of Biden threatening Putin not to go into Ukraine. That was the day we got the headline of the Donbass region being fully taken over by Russia, and that was another big 201 ritual. So again, it just seems like it's a ticking time bomb towards a greater escalation. How are the wealthy going to sustain their market that mostly they're invested in? Well, war always sustains the market, so they're saying most corporations are going to be doing mass layoffs this year. It was funny, the day after CNN gave his State of the Union, or the day after Biden gave his State of the Union, saying that the economy's never been stronger, CNN's top headline the morning the next day was how to deal with being laid off. And I was like, wow, that's funny that's CNN's top story this morning. How to deal with being laid off. I thought Biden just said last night the economy's never been stronger. But yeah, again, war does sustain economies. And, I won't be surprised if there is a much greater escalation and eventually there are U.S. troops being deployed and other nations. And again, they're also showing they're also showing how Russia and China are partnering up. And this week, like the New York Times is writing about how China stands to benefit from a longer war. And so we'll see.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to be like like that thing that they keep foreshadowing that's in the Bible, that the punishment of the great nation after 400 years? Because I remember you were talking about that a while back.
Well, that's when COVID happened. That happened right after. That was August of 2019, and then COVID hit. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be like a big draft or something like that? Like, do you think it's ever going to hit here? Because in World War II and World War I, like, there wasn't ever really any conflict here. Like, nothing ever happened in America. Like, there was never any destruction of anything. I mean, other than Hawaii, but like, we never really like felt the brunt of any of that stuff other than some drafts. Do you think that maybe that's going to change?
Yeah, I imagine whenever World War III does come, you'll have China on the west coast of America. I'm sure they'll come. Be right back, everybody. Sit tight.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Thank you. This may be the most important speech I've ever made. Well, it's about time. It was a massive dump, and to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from. Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump, and to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from. Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little. We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have election days, weeks and months. Lots of bad things happened. What can I say? Wow, it was a massive dump. Our country cannot live with this election. Right now, we're worried about the present and what went on with an election that we won without question. In Pennsylvania, large amounts of dump. All over the country, dump. Nevada and California said dump. Right here in Washington. It was a massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from. Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump. And Where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little. So many got ballots, they didn't even know what they were for. And again, so many received more than one ballot. In some cases, more than two ballots. If you were a Democrat, we're going to fix up your ballot, make sure it's perfect. If you were a Republican, don't even talk about it. Can you believe this? The hardest thing I have to do is dump. When they're irregular, dump. Let's go on to the next dump. It's because they know they are high. It was a massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot.
You must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR, Truth Frequency Radio.
Condition orange. Condition orange. Situation Delta in effect. Please enter your agent number now, followed by the hash key.
We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR.
Time comes when silence is betrayal.
More for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them.
Think for yourself. Question authority.
This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. We got an hour left. We're taking your calls the rest of the way. There's about 5 people on hold, so not a bad time to call in. I'm sure we'll get through all those calls and more before the end of the show. But something I did not cover, yesterday, Trump did go out to East Palestine, Ohio, or Palestine, however you want to say it. And I'm realizing the emphasized phrase from the showing by Trump is, "You are not forgotten." And as we've been talking about nonstop since 2015 when he first announced he was running for president, "You are not forgotten" equals 88, like the name Trump, who in 1988 talked to Oprah about the possibility of being president one day. But notice what day that he showed up there, right? People are going to say, that's real leadership. Biden's in Europe, and the man who should be the president, he's where he needs to be. Again, this is all to show you guys, but he showed up there on the 52nd day of the year, February 21st. And what do we know? In Gematria, president equals 52, so does White House, so does government, so does Kabbalah, so does Gematria, so does the Cabal. Big special number, 52. The ultimate authority, Pope equals 52, like how we're on a 52-week year named after the Pope. Remember what the hit show was on Netflix when Trump announced he was running? House of Cards. Of course, Trump card comes from cards. Think of a standard deck of cards, 52 cards in it. But on the 52nd day of the year, Trump's in Ohio. And I even heard he was eating at McDonald's. And boy, does America love that. He eats at McDonald's like the rest of us. Okay. Let's go back out to the callers. And Truth Does Not Exist was asking us about what's to come. And I was saying things that I think are likely to come in light of where this Russia-Ukraine narrative seems to be heading towards. And for the people in the chat who are saying things like nukes aren't real, well, whether they're real or not, that's probably going to be a headline. There's some kind of nuclear catastrophe. I mean, they keep hinting at that. And go back and see the United Nations Nuclear Weapons Inspector, whatever his title is. It was August 6th that he addressed the world saying the nuclear threat from Russia's real, and just to do it on the anniversary of Hiroshima. But that said, 810, you're up next. What's going on, 810?
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? I was just writing some notes earlier today, and I noticed a bunch of 137s, a bunch of 61s, like Anthony Fauci, Mind Control, Toilet Paper, Washington, D.C. Even Derailment has similar gematria with all those. I saw a TikTok video of a guy yesterday who wrote out Illuminati backwards.com. It's ITANIMULLI.com. And so it's like a redirect to the NSA.gov website.
Yeah, that's an old one. Yeah, it's been that way for a long time too. It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I must be behind the times because I was just like, you gotta be.
It's been that way for like at least a decade. Yeah, that's been true for like at least a decade now. I've lost track of time. So.
Wow. But yeah, I saw some more interesting gematria, spellcasting 137 and 187, like Society of Jesus. The Masonic compass was 47 plus 90 degrees is 137. 137, 33rd prime, magic 33, spell 33, false flag 33, race war 33, Bible 33, 330 can be 33 in numerology. Palestine equals 332-ish. Sun equals 332-ish. East Palestine, Ohio has a 330 area code. Palestine equals 201 capitals mixed.
It's too many numbers. Again, this is I don't like when people call in and just go through like a gazillion numbers. It just makes for the worst radio. It's like stick to a number and give us a big long list of it. That works, but like blowing through 50 numbers is just it confuses everybody. So
understandable.
Yeah.
Oh, but I also before I wanted to let you go, I noticed the East Palestine, Ohio first train derailment date. Have on 48 day numerology, and 223 is the 48th prime, and tomorrow is 223 in the year 2023. There's a bunch of like 48, a bunch of 48 because 223 is 48 prime. Like that's about so below is 48, Illuminati is 48, the Order is 48.
Donald Trump's 48. Donald Trump's 48.
Donald Trump's 48. He's just there. Freemasons 48, like Squid Games equals Freemason 4 out of 4. Kundalini 48. Hollywood 48, Propaganda 48, full reduction and single induction, false flag 48, hoax 48, blood 48, Obama's birthday 8/4, Delaware 48.
Right. Indeed. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think the train derailment, let me check this. Was the train derailment 239 days after Trump's birthday? That's the 52nd prime. I think it was. Let me check to make sure my math in my head is right. It was February 3rd. Sure. Oh, no. Never mind. My math is off. It was 33 weeks and 3 days after his birthday. I take it back. Okay.
It was, what was it? It was 156 days after the release of White Noise, 911 to 156 prime.
Right.
It's also 22 weeks and 2 days, like Quarter Out of Chaos and all the other 222s.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great show tonight.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Take care.
Yeah, take care. All right, let's go out to Missouri, the land of the Super Bowl winners.
Hey, what's up, Zach?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, I wanted to run something by you. I don't know if anybody's ever ran this by you, because the only thing I disagree with you is, and it's minor, is just that the people that are ahead of the actual people that give the orders to carry out, I really don't think they're that smart, man. I think they got smart people underneath them. But my theory with that being said, that what if all of this numbers, how they add up perfectly, is ran by an AI system? Because I don't believe these people are smart enough to off these people at this time, because I don't think these people die on these days. I just think that's when they're announced and things like that. What if there's an AI
like Jimmy
system
Carter?
dates
Like Jimmy Carter. Don't be surprised tomorrow. Don't be surprised. They said over the weekend that Jimmy Carter's on his last days. Be surprised if tomorrow ends up being his last day, because tomorrow's the 54th day of the year and Jimmy Carter equals 54. I make that assumption based on how they said he's in his final days. And notice they did that over the President's Day weekend, and fittingly, Jimmy Carter became the president 46 years ago. Here we are in the time of number 46, and don't forget how the first President's Day, when number 46 was in office, did fall on the 46th day of the year. But yeah, just the ritualism of everything is just gross. Jimmy Carter's about to die over the President's Day weekend, and who even knows if the guy's even alive right now? They might just be saving the news for the most perfect day, so...
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I just think about them kind of things, that these people are not smart enough to get it right like that every time, I don't believe. You know what I mean? Like, how do they get the sports stars, the actors, the politicians, all of it just adds up perfectly.
Well, it's not really that complicated what they do. I mean, there's complicated mathematics, and Gematria really isn't it. It's addition. So.
Well, I mean, not just that. I mean, the weather events, every single thing that goes on that's, you know, controlled by them is to the number, to the T, and that's why I just don't think they're smart enough to line it up like that. I think there's something behind it.
Well, why don't you think they're smart? Wouldn't you assume that the people who rule over humanity, who've developed all this technology, wouldn't you assume they're intelligent?
Well, everything they got, they stole anyways. I don't believe they created any of it. I think the actual people created it, and as soon as they found out about it, they just stole it. You know, I don't think they really created anything. I don't think the Jesuits created anything. That's why they put their names on everything. Like, if you take their so-called history by their name, a Jesuit or a Catholic created everything.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, lie, cheat, steal your way to the top. They could just be the most nefarious and have the worst ethics. But
right. I mean, that's just my idea. You know, I'm not saying, you know, it just seems too. I don't think they're very smart, because think about it. The masses isn't very smart. The masses, there's only a few of us that are awake. So it doesn't take much to fool the idiots. You know what I mean? So how smart do you really have to be to fool the majority, which the majority are idiots?
Yeah, I mean, they really are. I mean, the stuff they do is really surface level. It's just amazing they get away with it day after day. Hey. So I mean I hear what you're saying, but somewhere there are some intelligent people that, if they are even people, that are developing this technology that kind of has everyone captivated. I mean, you take away the technology, you don't have the level of mind control that we have at this moment in history. So
I agree with you. I agree with you that there are smart people, but I think the smart people that they have are people that work for them. It's not the actual people running the show. You know what I mean? Because they can just pull a smart person out, and they don't have to be respected. They just got to be feared to control people.
Sure. Well, again, I mean, the one thing you got to give the Jesuits credit for is their schools. Their universities are top notch, and they do get a lot of the best students in the world. So I mean, that's their recruiting ground. And but yeah, I still hear the point you're making.
Are indoctrinated into they're all indoctrinated into the system. I'm talking about like world knowledge. You know what I mean? World knowledge is different than so-called education.
Sure, but I mean, there are bright young people that get into those schools because they're difficult to get into. So.
Of course, I'm not denying that. I'm talking about the people at the top. You know what I'm saying? The people that actually give the actual orders. But I just thought I'd run that across, man. It just was on my mind. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, but I didn't see your thoughts on it, and that's about all I got.
All right. Well, I appreciate the thoughts. Thank you.
All right, later.
All right, yeah, have a good night. Let's go out to New York. I think we've got a lady caller.
Hey, Zach, New York City calling in.
Yeah, it's always good to hear your voice. We don't have enough female callers, so thank you for being one of them.
No worries. So I just wanted to talk about the NASCAR stream you did, I think on Saturday.
Yeah.
The winner, it was very funny because I noticed he was born in Memphis.
Memphis. Yeah, which is where FedEx is from, and there was a Memphis shooting that morning. Yeah, and he had. Yeah, because we were looking at drivers who were higher up who had the 212 and 57 connections, and his name was there with the 212. He was just way down at the bottom of the list with the biggest odds. If only we'd noticed that Brad Doherty was his owner and 57 years old. It all made so much sense after he won the race. But somebody in the community did bet $5 on him and won over 100. I was like, yeah, we all should have had $5 on that driver. So, anyway.
Right. It was so wild because I'm like, I know Memphis has to figure into something. It figured, I think it's like going to be a recurring theme in all these sports big events going forward. And also, didn't you go out to Kroger as well for one of the fake shootings?
Yeah, that was out here last year, February 7th, last year.
Well, yeah. So if you actually go on the NASCAR, the Daytona 500 winners wiki page, he's actually wearing like a Kroger sponsor uniform, and I was just like, wait a second, this Jack went to Kroger as well. So I was just like, wow, it's like a nod to the Gematria community. But also too, another thing, I actually went and saw the new Ant-Man movie this weekend, and I always say like these Disney Marvel movies are very high with predictive programming and whatnot. So one of the trailers that showed before the movie is a Michael Jordan movie. It's going to be called Air, right? And it has, I think, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, I forgot who else. I think Viola Davis. So I was like, wait a minute, Bloomsack mentioned like Michael Jordan a lot lately. I think he did a video on his the Friday before the NASCAR. And I was like, what's going on with Michael Jordan? I was like, wow, like now they're having a movie about him, and I think it comes out in April of 1 month. I don't know the exact date in April. So then, too, to connect with that, with Marvel, I know you mentioned in your NASCAR stream that 616, June 16th, was actually the date of the Ford, the incorporation, the founding of the Ford Motor Company, right?
Right.
So in Marvel Comics and MCU movie, 616 is like the worst universe to be in. It's like considered the main universe, like our universe, essentially. It's like the worst, right? And Marvel, I think the writers of Marvel Comics, they came up with the 616 because I think they subtracted some number from 666 to come up with that number. It's really wild. So another trailer that showed before Quantumania was the new Flash movie with Ezra Miller coming out, despite him being arrested so many times. So that's actually coming out on 616 as well this year, June 16th. And to make it connect to what Rambo was saying, the Flash's, his main colors is yellow and red. So that actually ties into the colors that Rambo was talking about. So I don't know how this whole thing with Michael Jordan and red, I know the Bulls, their main color is, I think, red and white, but something with red going on here, I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. Maybe there's a connect to another sports ritual coming up. I have no idea. And then finally, you were talking about like all these nuclear stories coming out lately, like they just want to blow up the world or something, or they want some type of Chernobyl type of event which deals with nuclear reactors. So I think you did mention this, or I don't know if you're aware that there is a movie coming out this year about Oppenheimer,
Right.
and he's the one who invented the atomic bomb.
Right.
So if you go on Universal Studios' main YouTube channel, not Universal Studios, Universal Pictures, that trailer is like a little teaser trailer. It's actually a countdown clock to when the movie will premiere on, I think it's 7/21. I don't know if there's a connect with, I know they're all, the 7 and 21, 7 times 3 is 21, but I don't know if you know if there's another deeper connect with 7/21 with that date, because I just think it's really weird that that movie's coming out this year and all this talk about nuclear this and nuclear that. You know, I don't know if there's a deeper connect with 721. So I just wanted to put that out.
That's the day that man first walked on the moon. The moon landing was July 20th, but man first walked on the moon on July 21st. It's the 202nd day of the year, which goes with Skull and Bones 202 in the DC area code. Yeah, I'll have to think more about that one. It's the day leaving 163 days left near the 38th prime number connected to death, which the big bomb's connected to. So.
Right, like, yeah, there's something going on with this movie, and I think this is the first time Universal Pictures did a trailer like that, where it's just continuously counting down. Like, I think when it first premiered last year, that's when the countdown clock started. So it keeps going. I think, like, right now, it's like 4 months, 23 days, 8 hours, 10 minutes. They get down to the seconds. No, they don't even put the seconds anymore, but 10 minutes towards the countdown of this movie premiere. And I'm like, why are they doing this? You know, I don't think any other movie they did this before. So there's definitely something going on with this nuclear coding and Oppenheimer and whatnot. So I just wanted to put everything out there. Following your work, you and Rambo, you guys rock. So I'm going to hop off and let other people join.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a video that's still up on one of these channels about Oppenheimer. I covered it last year, just all the things that are so interesting about the name he went by. He was born April 22nd, 1904. He died February 18th, 67. So this movie's going to come out 56 years after his death. And
wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to...
Because, yeah, and then this whole Chernobyl thing, because Chernobyl is... I think Chernobyl is in Ukraine. So I'm just like... And then I think I saw news reports of... they're comparing Ohio to Chernobyl. So I'm like, okay, Chernobyl, atomic bomb. Like, there's some weirdness going on here. I don't know if they're setting it up for, like, an even bigger, like, ecological disaster, or I just don't know. It's like weird coding.
From his death anniversary to the release of the film is 153 days, going with Jesuit order and the Illuminati. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll look more
also,
to it.
like, because I remember... Oh, I'm sorry, like, real quick, I do remember a famous quote. I think he said, Oppenheimer, the real-life Oppenheimer, I think he said he's become the death, the destroyer of worlds. Like, and he mentioned a Hindu god, not Shiva.
Yeah.
I forgot which Hindu, I think it's Vishnu? I don't know. So I think that all ties in somehow, like what he said. And also, real quick, another comic book movie that connects to Oppenheimer was Watchmen. I think Mr. Manhattan, I think is actually, the character Mr. Manhattan is actually, I think, modeled after Vishnu. Because I think he was created in like a nuclear, like he was a scientist, like he got trapped in a nuclear accelerator or something like that. And he was torn apart or something, and he has like the third eye, not the third eye, yeah, like a third eye, like the most Hindu gods have. But he used the what you call the symbol for hydrogen. I think he was inspired. Dr. Manhattan was inspired by the hydrogen being the most simplest element. And it has like only one proton, and he put that dot in the middle of his head. So there is a connection with Hinduism, Oppenheimer, these comic book movies, what's going on in Ukraine. It's like a multi-layered code, like predictive programming code. I've been watching, I've been peeping that in the media. So, and then one more thing about Ukraine, Zelensky. I don't know if you noticed, the news media, they spell Zelensky's name differently sometimes. Like sometimes he has one Y.
I noticed that too.
And sometimes he has two. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like Turkey versus the new spelling of Turkey and all this nonsense they keep doing. I think they just do that to like confuse people.
Sure. Sure.
Especially to mix things up with the Gematria community somehow.
Sure. For the record, Shiva is the destroyer, and Shiva in the most pure cipher is 23, like how we're in 2023. And then I guess maybe with the whole Trinity thing, maybe that's part of the reason to 721, just because 7 goes into 21 3 times.
Oh, the Trinity. Okay, wow. So I don't know in Hinduism if there is a Trinity. I think there's Shiva. I think his consort is supposed to be Kali.
No, it is the Trinity. It is part of the Trinity. It says it right here. Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu are the Trinity in Hinduism.
Ah, okay. Oh, I see your screen. Okay, because, I think Oppenheimer, because Shiva is at CERN, right? They have a statue of Shiva at CERN.
Right.
And I think Oppenheimer did quote Vishnu from the Bhagavad Gita. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So that's the Trinity, the Trimurti. I'm reading your screen. Because I think Shiva's weapon is a trident, like Rambo has been mentioning the trident. I used to study like Tibetan Buddhism, so there's an overlap between Hinduism and Tibetan Buddhist God. But I do remember Shiva has a trident.
Yeah.
As his main symbol.
And that's also goes with Ukraine.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is messed up. I just hope they don't destroy, like, no more train derailments, no more factory fires, because this is getting a little scary with all these, what's going on in Ohio. I think there was here in New York, a lumber factory caught fire here in New York City, and I'm just like, what? It happened like I think yesterday or a couple of days ago. I'm like, okay, so they're attacking a waste management. There was a waste management fire in Boston, and it's just wild.
It's nonstop. We got a commercial break. We'll be right back, everybody.
There was a time when I used to make $60,000 a year. And all my friends made around the same amount of money. I read the book and I said, okay, instead of acting like I make 60K, I'm gonna act like I make 100K. And I'm gonna do the things necessary to make the 100K. 6 months later, 120K. 6 months later, 180K. 6 months later, $250,000. It changed the way I was thinking about things, and because I was thinking about things differently, I operated differently. I walked differently. I dressed differently. I talked differently. I got around different people because I was ready for success. I was thinking ahead. I was thinking positive. And I was dreaming big, dreaming of being this colossal sized influence in people's lives. And I'm on that journey now, piece by piece, day by day.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host of Beyond the Veil. The mainstream media and establishment are running scared right now, and they've prominently featured TruthFrequencyRadio.com as number 89 on the federal government's hit list, also known as the fake news list, which is essentially a list of sites slated for censorship on Facebook, YouTube, Google, and other social media. Now is the time for you to get involved. Share your favorite TFR shows far and wide on forums and social media. Tell your friends and family about your favorite shows. If you're a business owner, get in touch with us to feature your product or service right here on TFR. And if you haven't done so already, become a TFR supporter now and get unlimited commercial-free downloads in high quality. Visit truthfrequencyradio.com/sign-up. Thank you for making TFR the leader in independent and uncensored talk radio. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Real people, real radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
All right, we're back, True Seeker. Really great call. And I was looking over the commercial break at the movie poster for Oppenheimer, and the words on it are, Oppenheimer, the world forever changes. So what's interesting about that is they say that Russia first went into Ukraine on February 21st, and then, of course, it was the next day, February 22nd, where the whole world addressed it, including Biden, at 2:22 p.m. Eastern. But anyhow, from the day that Russia first went into Ukraine, February 21st, to the day the movie releases, July 21st, 2023, is a span of 516 days. And the words on that movie poster, Oppenheimer, the world forever changes, equals 516. Like how it's a span of 516 days. And typically, like for a word or a couple words to have that big of a value, you got to look in Jewish Gematria or English Extended Gematria or Satanic Gematria. I noticed Holy Bible had the connection in Jewish Gematria because a lot of these things are biblical themes. But I also noticed that Manhattan, New York is 516 in Satanic Gematria, and of course the Manhattan Project is what developed the big bombs, which Oppenheimer was a part of. So, the other thing that's special about July 21st, 2023 is that's the day I go over the hill. I turned 40 years old, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be a real big explosion that day. It's 17 days after the nation's 247th birthday. You have to look more into this one. And like we were saying, it's 153 days after his death anniversary. Jesuit Order 153. Holy Bible also 153. And then 516 in Jewish. And the Illuminati also 153. Again, the Illuminati founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. So anyhow, really great call out of New York. And we got 5 people on hold who should all get on here before the end of the show. And 202, you're first up.
Oh, hi, Zach. I'm excited about you getting into finance. And years ago, I've been listening to you for about 5 or 6 years, maybe, and I come from a family of stockbrokers, and they all think I'm nuts. They think I'm crazy because
we're gonna prove them wrong.
Your work.
We're gonna prove them
Wall
all.
Street Journal, and you'll see the date and your work, your little magic, and sure enough, a company will pop up on the Gematria. It's amazing. But I was a lone wolf, and I got you're crazy. How's your mental health? I mean, my whole intervention because of your work. But I want to thank you, and I hope you do great. And I'm in, buddy. Thank you.
All right, appreciate the support. Yeah, we're starting March 1st. If everybody wants to sign up for the Gematria market decoding, we're going to start going full board at it March 1st. And that'll be on the Patreon page. I appreciate your enthusiasm for it. Thank you, 202.
Thank you. Thanks for being.
All right. Yeah. Have a good night. Okay. Let's go out to 860. You're on 860.
Hey, what's going on, Zach? How you doing, man?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, no, I tell you, it's been a long time since, not a long time, but a good time, while since I spoke to you. But there's been a lot of stuff going on about the Kansas City-Philadelphia game, man, and I heard the guy talking to you earlier about Patrick Mahomes' name and Philadelphia being like indigenous and Native American. But, you know, I know quite a few people don't talk about the Moors and how entrenched the Moors are in Philadelphia, with Jalen Hurts and coming from Alabama / Oklahoma, playing at those schools, and how Mahomes' name kind of coincides with that. It's kind of like a Moorish background. Most names that starts with Moors culture starts with an M-A or M-O. And you know, that's how I saw the Super Bowl, pretty much. And it was kind of like driven with Abraham Lincoln. And one of his very important cases was him defending a so-called Negro back in the days, where he defended the guy, saying that he was not a Negro, but he was actually of Moorish culture. But you ever heard about that case?
I have not heard about that case. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it was a case where Abraham Lincoln, being a lawyer, tried a case where this so-called Negro or black person married a white woman, so to speak, during that time. And him living in Illinois, the family member of his wife wanted to confiscate his property and things that he had, stating that he was a Negro and had no right to property. And Abraham Lincoln actually defended his case, saying that he is not a Negro, but he is a Moor, meaning a free person.
I see.
So I just kind of, just kind of wanted to bring that up as one of the topics with this Super Bowl that just passed. And like I said, I haven't been able to get on and talk to your show pretty much. But just wanted to kind of throw it out there as the information.
I appreciate
just kind
that.
of throw it out there. That's all.
Yeah, I'm going to look more into that.
Yeah, no
Thank
doubt,
you.
man. Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Lots of good knowledge in the community. Let's go out to 920. What's up, 920?
Hey, Zachary.
Hello.
Hey, Zach. Hey, this is Ben Shapiro. How you doing?
What?
We've gotten a lot of news from Hubbard. The Chinese spy balloon was filled with the moon dust from the first moon landing. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
Universal Pictures will be releasing a movie about it 3 months and 22 days from now.
Of course.
Did you know this? Check the box office website. Email me at benptalk@gmail.com or go to benp.net. Thank you, everybody. We will release the official Shapiro documents. You can CashApp us. It will be released. Stay tuned. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Zach, for having me on the show.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, Ben Shapiro signing off.
All right, take care, Ben.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Definitely not the best Ben Shapiro imitation, but hey, I appreciate it. Let's go out to 310. What's up, 310?
Hey, how you doing, Zach?
Doing all right, thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? I'll be really brief, Zach. I just wanted to run a couple things by you. First thing, I wanted to respond to the lady who called earlier and she was talking about Shiva.
and how she's the blue creature and it's connected to Mr. Manhattan. She's absolutely correct about that. In Hollywood, they do this, especially with the X-Men. You know, I'm a huge X-Men fan, you know, Marvel and all that. I love the X-Men, so I know about Mystique and how crucial she is in all of the films. You know, she's a central character, right? But more importantly, when you guys start talking about Michael Jordan and how it's connected to 23, it makes perfect sense because Shiva always has her fucking tongue out, just like Michael Jordan. And this is something that I knew, like, it's mockery when somebody takes, you know, they stick your tongue out at you. It's just mockery, you know what I mean? So Michael Jordan, over the years, he was known for that. I don't know if the younger kids know that, but you already know back in the day, he always had his, you know, tongue out, doing the up and under, all this, you know, the stuff. So, yeah, I just give props to your caller in pointing that out. And she's talking about Marvel. And what I know about the Doctor Strange Part 2 is that last year it came out on 5/6/56. And, you know, Super Bowl 56, right. The whole theme last year, you know. So, yeah, she was on point. But one other thing I wanted to say was, and this is more just a personal question. Me and my friends, we talk this a lot, man. We talk about Gematria. And with Elgin Baylor, I just want to bring up Elgin Baylor. This is something you went over last year. And how he died on March 22nd, 3/22. Now, I was going to ask you this. It's very simple. Is that the trademark of the Skull and Bones, and were they the ones responsible for killing him and not the Jesuits? Because I understand what you mean by the Jesuits. You know, me and my friend researched the Phoenix Suns arena where they play at. The address is literally like 201 something road. It's just ridiculous, dude. It's in our face with a 201. Well, in that example with Elgin Baylor, do you think that was the work of the Skull and Bones order, or do you think that was the Jesuits? Because me and my friends kind of went back and forth with this. There's more, you know.
Okay, well, here. Look,
I wanted to see what you think.
Remember last year, Delnardo Webster died on March 22nd, a year to the day of Elgin Baylor, and he played for the Cinderella story of last year's March Madness tournament, the St. Peter's Peacocks, the Jesuit school. So you have two former Jesuit players, both die on 3/22, synced up with the rituals with their, related Jesuit schools in the tournament. And so again, Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from how the Knights Templar buried their dead. And the Templars and the Jesuits might as well be one and the same thing. They're military orders of the Catholic Church, and the Templar cross is in the Jesuit logo. So to me, at the end of the day, it's not even really worth debating about, because they both serve the same Roman Catholic Church. And yeah, it is possible that it was like a different faction that actually did the ritual, but it's all for the same purpose. And like I always say with college basketball, I mean, the first March Madness was in 85. Basketball equals 85. Isu Salmonum Salvatore, the Jesuit motto, equals 85. And that was the Catholic school of Villanova beating the Jesuit school of Georgetown. So at the end of the day, I mean, like if I had to bet on which faction's responsible, I'd still bet on the Jesuits, even though it's 3/22. Keep in mind that March 22nd, the 1 year it was a leap year, so I'll just skip that point. But also D26 just dug up how Skull and Bones does have the Gematria 201 as well, just like how the movie The Skulls came out 201 days after, what's Paul Walker's birthday, who stars in The Skulls.
Oh, that movie, right, where it's about the Skull and Bones film. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then Paul Walker died 5 years to the day of George Herbert Walker Bush, who was in Skull and Bones, and they both died on 11/30, and 11 plus 30 is 41, like Skull and Bones. But yeah, I mean, it could be another faction, but like I always say, they all serve the same master. So.
Okay, yeah, they all check in. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, because like I said, me and my friends were debating, and then you mentioned Washington D.C. That's where Elgin Baylor was born, in Washington D.C. And you said that has ties to the 3/22 Skull and Bones in Washington. I thought that was fascinating. Yeah, you know what I mean? Just
202 area code.
And and then I guess the last thing I'll say pretty much is that so the film Above the Rim was like my favorite film, and I really didn't know why, and I started to understand why. You broke this down actually, and with films in general, and what happened was, if I'm not mistaken, the debut of Allen Iverson in Georgetown was like November 14th or something or other like that. Something like that, right? His freshman year. Okay. And then the film Above the Rim, which was about getting into Georgetown, Dwayne Martin, all this shit about Georgetown. And I didn't understand why I liked Georgetown so much. No, dude. They preconditioned us in March, and then the all and powerful Allen Iverson comes out like a man, like a bat out of hell into the NBA like that. And I was like, wow, dude. this was literally about this school. But going back to the Georgetown, the Jesuits, the 3-2, I just found that fascinating. Like, the film, for years, I never understood why I was so drawn to the film. And it's like, nah, it's programming by the Jesuits. So you are right about that. And the last thing I'll say is last year's clue of 3-2-2 was the final part I'll say is that the Orioles, they started the season 3-22. And these motherfuckers, dude, they traded the guy, I think his name is Mancini, to the Houston Astros, who ended up winning the goddamn World Series with the Astros. But he was largely, I won't say largely responsible, but that was a crucial trade for the Houston Astros to kind of do their thing. But I found it funny that the Baltimore Orioles literally, they lost and they caught on fire after they went 3-2-2 and went 5-9. I knew there was something to it. But that 3-2-2 man's been screwed with my mind. It's like they worship that year, 3-2-2 CE or whatever that is. And anyway, I just wanted to run that by you and see what you thought of that. Me and my friends are kind of going back and forth. But thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great observations. Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night. Okay, let's go out to 562. You're on. 562. Must just be listening. And we got one more person in line. 813.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, man, great. Looking forward to the third book you're going to put out, obviously. But I've been contemplating. I don't know if you guys are thinking about ever putting out a documentary movie. But I think it'd be very beneficial. You get the word out a lot more.
My latest book. I plan for it to be short, and then I want to make a film on the book, like just pretty much going over it in film form, and it could probably be between 30 minutes and an hour long. So
wonderful. I can't wait for it any sooner now. As you put in the word gematria in the Gematria calculator, that it has a gematria of 74. Maybe you could release it on 7-4.
Sure.
July 4th as our kind of like throwing it in their face.
Yeah. I'm thinking about putting out a children's book this year on 7-4, just talking about the significance of that number and Independence Day and the presidents who died on that day. So
absolutely. Well, we're rounding the wagons here on the whole thing. Thanks again for all the streams and the live cast and allowing people to express themselves on here. It's a wonderful forum. Thanks so much, man. Hope you have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man. Very welcome. Have a good night.
Take care, buddy.
All right, take care. All right. I know what kind of music this man listens to. Hey, what's up, New York?
Hey, Zach, what's up, man?
How you doing?
As good as you.
I'm doing all right. What's new in the world?
Same old, man. Ain't nothing new around here.
Right. Yeah, I hear that.
Okay.
I hear that. So you've been connecting with any of the truth seekers since we all came out for New York?
No, funny. I'm connected about it recently. Because I kind of I was a little bit busy,
I see. Okay.
But I'll tune in every Wednesday night, but just listening and it's like when I tune in, there's so much people on the air before me, so.
Yeah. Well, it's good to get you on tonight. Always good to hear your voice.
Yeah, I'm saying. Remember when you get the time, you send me your new address. Text me.
Yeah, I will do that. Absolutely.
I'll tune in to Rambo. I'll give him a call tomorrow again.
All right, sounds good. You have a good night, friend. Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
All right, you take care.
Keep up the good work, man.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right.
All right, take care, friend.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I miss New York. Let's go out to DK Stonewood calling in early.
Yeah, all right. Oh, I just called in because you said you didn't have any callers. Get me one, go get them, and then you could just come back.
Nope.
I'll call you back.
There's nobody else. It's just you.
Okay, hold on. Let me put some volume down then. before I forget, because I just took a couple rips, for the guy who was calling in about basically like asking about the totem pole, so you have the Jesuits and certain like factions within the Jesuits, certain guys, actually not necessarily factions, there's not that many of them at the top. They're delegating, you know, certain tasks to certain other, what the guy was calling like factions. So like at the top of the CIA, you have the Skull and Bones. There's been many movies about that, including like Skulls, and then the one Matt Damon movie, The Good Shepherd. That's the best one to watch on that, by the way. It's long as shit and not very entertaining, but they give you a lot of information in that movie. That's kind of like a must-see. So anyway, the Skull and Bones would be like, that's what the SS is now. They're the Skull and Bones. And then the top bonesmen are in another like secret society, just like the you know, in the SS. The top guys in the SS were the Schwartz Sons, the Black Sun, Cult of the Black Sun. So that is basically called the Knights of Malta now. So the top guys in the Skull and Bones would be Knights of Malta, sometimes very openly, like a George Bush Sr., you know, running the head of the CIA. He's from Skull and Bones, but he's Knights of Malta as well. So Knights of Malta is delegating to the other, and then above Knights of Malta, there's like certain Jesuits that are in charge of talking to these people. So it goes down like in a pecking order. They run it just like a corporation. Former King of Spain, Juan Carlos, is one of them, and what's the other? It's a family with a P name, I forget. And then above, you know, at the very, very top of those Jesuits controlling them is these families that are like princes and princesses and stuff like that. The ones you never even hear about. These are like the black nobility and stuff. You know, and then you have the main families which are doing a lot of the work, you know, like Farnese, who actually created the Jesuits, Aldo Brandini, the great Pope Orsini, and such. So another thing I don't have written down here, I just wanted to mention, you amongst other people have said how you're going to like stop smoking cannabis like for pretty much forever, and you know, some other like truth seekers that I know, like Max Deegan, he's saying basically, I mean, that guy just, all he does is, you know, I met him a couple times in person. He stayed over at one of my friend's house one time when he was in LA. All the guy does all day is roll, like, you know, he gets like Mupacha tobacco, like good tobacco that isn't gonna like give you cancer and stuff like it's not laced with arsenic and all this other shit that Marlboro and, you know, all these other McDonald's level brands that do. So all he does is roll that mixed with weed, like, you know, like all day. I don't know how many of those he smokes, probably 20, 30, 40, I don't know. But he's been saying how he's like, basically, because they bred the spirit out of the plant. All these strains they have now, they're insanely high in THC, like 30%, but there's no like spirit in it. And I gotta say that, you know, that I'm definitely feeling that way too. Or, you know, either it's the fact that we're in this part of the timeline right now where the veil is thinning so much, because that's what I used to find, you know, on a spiritual level, that it would thin the veil for me so I could, you know, I'd be a little closer to my higher self, which is like, you know, infinitely smarter than my physical body, so I'd be able to download more, like, at a faster rate, kind of like in the Lucy movie when she took that blue stuff and all of a sudden she's becoming a genius, you know, and then when it starts wearing off, she's like, oh shit, I need more. But I feel like that's, you know, that's kind of, that definitely kind of like been bred out of the plant, or maybe it's just me that I'm like constantly on that level now that I just don't, you know, that it's not like doing anything for me really anymore, you know, very, very little, if any. But then just like today, I come home and I'm like an hour behind on the show. I want to listen to what you're talking about currently, but I want to hear what Rambo, your opening monologue, and I want to hear what Rambo had to say, just in case I want to make some comments on it. And then, like, you know, then there's like 2 hours of calls, so sometimes, you know, I'll be like way behind, and then I'm looking at some of the comments. I'm like, oh, there's something going on right now that I want to listen to, but I want to listen to this right now just to see if I want to say anything about it. And then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna. I went and opened it up because you were talking about something that I wanted to hear. So I had one device open like live, and one's like an hour behind. And then I was just listening to it like that for, right when I came home, and I took a rip right before I did that, and all of a sudden, like, I was totally zoned in just listening to both conversations, like, I was talking to, like, two different people were talking at the same time. So within, like, an hour's time, or 45 minutes, I, like, caught up on 2 hours of show, and then I was like, shit, maybe that weed actually does work, maybe I'm tripping, and it still is good. So, let me get over here. It's going to cut me off in a second, huh? Should I just call on the other number right now?
You got 40 seconds.
Okay. My notes are on my phone, too, that way. See. Okay, and then, that guy was just talking about, one of the last callers about Allegiant Stadium for the next Super Bowl. Funny they named it Allegiant Stadium. That's the last movie out of the Divergent series, which I think are a must-watch as well. That's kind of about how, like, we're in this matrix and we're supposed to be able to kind of, like, figure it all out through, like, pattern recognition and not be scared, I don't know if you saw that series. Those were awesome 3 movies. But the last one is Allegiant, where she finally breaks through, like, the matrix, So I think that has a lot to do with... All
right, I'll call us back in a minute. Check out Truth Vibration Podcast. We'll be right back, everybody. Okay, that's the end of the TFR show. DK said he's going to call back on the other line. And, again, Truth Vibration Podcast. He's the big strong man in the chat who's trying to get more people to care more about the truth and nutrition. He's going to do a live stream as soon as this one's over. So you might want to head over there if you want to keep the Truth Seeker Party alive. And we'll finish up here with DK Stonewood. Call it a show. What's up, DK?
Yeah, I finished that Allegiant thing. So, yeah, man, we got, this is the second day in a row, topping out at 33 mile per hour winds. And last night I had a power outage 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. So 112 couldn't get in my freaking gated complex, bring my car in until 2 a.m., which had all kinds of shit in it that I needed to bring in the house, but I wasn't about to carry that far, So, especially with everything being dark, you can't, you need carry a flashlight with all my. So it was I'm like, this is hilarious. While I'm talking right now, I'm gonna try to link all the nuclear stuff and everything with the balloons and everything. Can you bring up Project Yucca, just like a yucca root?
Let's see.
And then also we'll talk about that, and then also open up your email. I sent it to you probably maybe 7 o'clock, an hour into the show, and then I'll refer back to that photo in that email. So Project Yucca. And especially within Project Yucca, there was a few different aspects of it. But within Project Yucca, especially Operation Heart Attack.
Hold on. Is Yucca... How do you spell Yucca?
Yucca root. YUCCA.
Okay, I did that. I'm not seeing anything come up for that.
Oh, really? No, operate... Yeah, it's Project Yucca, definitely. Okay, pull up Operation Heart Attack.
Okay. Okay. Huh.
I'm looking at your
maybe Google scrubbed it all. It's not coming up either.
Wait, let me see. I'll pull it up right now on my Google. Let me see if it works. Well, anyway, what happened here during this? Let me just start talking about it, and then I'll look. Well, so they were. There was also other operations like Operation Fishbowl and all that where they were blowing up small nukes, what they claim, in the upper atmosphere, lower atmosphere, on land and underneath the water. And specifically, they launched 76 balloons, not 99 Lufthansa balloons like the German song, but 76 balloons with these, what they allegedly claim were nukes. And I pull up, go to your email then and pull up that photo I sent you, which is a screenshot out of the Google, which talks about it. Oh, that's funny. Hard tack. Why does it say hard tack instead of heart attack?
Down below, they have it right though.
So anyway, this is also probably the guy called about the company making the uranium rods and all that. So they were, they put all these balloons up in the air and blew up like nukes on them, and now we're talking about all these balloons, and then being shot down and all this nuclear stuff as well. So this is after all this stuff happened, pull up your email right now. That may be like 7 p.m. our time.
I see it.
So anyway, so they were doing a lot of these what they called tests. Hold on, to get some water.
Yeah, there used to, while he's getting water, there used to be a video online like showing it was like a drawing just showing all the different places that we did nuclear tests, and also Russia, and it's crazy how many like dots are on the screen. But here's a list of U.S. tests, over 2,000 tests. So
yeah, you see those numbers? A lot of 215-815, 528-1528, 2056 not counting Hiroshima and Nagasaki, probably because obviously if those are flourishing cities right afterwards, how the fuck is that a nuke? What's the half-life on that, on those radioactive particles? I mean, it should be like the, Kalahari Desert there for like another 1,000 years, right?
Sure.
But then, like right afterwards, there's just people walking around, flourishing freaking wildlife. That exclusion zone in Chernobyl is probably a jungle in the middle of the desert, probably the best on earth. And, in the movie Oblivion, remember when he's going and there were like radiation zones, and then that's where it's all jungly, and he has his little humble abodes that he's hiding in the quote unquote exclusion zone, like they're full of shit about this stuff, of course, telling us they got these nuclear submarines that can run for like 200, like in reality, they got a suitcase-sized Tesla coil in there with a bunch of over-unity devices linked to it. That's why you can't go in there and check out what it is. It's a big secret because they're full of fucking shit about what it really is. And we've been so dumbed down in things like physics that we don't really understand what energy is. They just call it electricity for us, and we don't know enough to know that that's just nonsense. So yeah, this I think has to do with. And then if you look after those tests, after they blew up all those nukes, all of a sudden it stopped. We had a few incidences where quote unquote UFOs shut down the launch systems. It was all mainstream news. Larry King had an hour-long special on it. It's probably still on YouTube, where he's like, well, wait a minute, why are these UFOs shutting down our launch computers and stuff like that? Which is also part of the 1947 incident at Roswell. That was over nuclear, launch facilities where that happened. They shot down those craft with radio electromagnetic, like radio wave, like a Tesla, basically a Tesla wave to where the thing lost its navigation system and just came down. It didn't crash because it was like, they shot it down with some kind of earth-based rocketry or some bullshit like that. So, that was, I think that's why they're doing this. This is like a ritual ode to that,
Sure.
To that whole, that system. And you notice they hadn't blown up any nukes since then. And, from all my research in the metaphysical community and that angle, the reason they were blowing up all those nukes in the upper and lower atmosphere is because you're basically opening up a portal for a minute to let a bunch of super low frequency astral parasites and such, in that are, they say there's most people have about 1,000, of these amoeba-like parasites linked to them, from the astral plane. That's how many of them there are in this realm that we don't see or hear. And then if you watch the movies like Paranormal Activity and stuff, they kind of show you what that would look like if you could see it. Have these blobs of negative energy just all over you and stuff like that. People don't even know, it's just sucking their energy constantly. And then, it appears that the positive, if you want to call them ETs, put a shutdown. There's no more bombs, are going to be blown up at all. So they haven't blown up any since. Why? Just like they didn't go back to the moon. What? Why? How all of a sudden are we doing all these tests, blowing all this shit up left and right all over the place? Like you said, there's dots all over the map, and then all of a sudden they just stop. You see what happened right after they stopped? They built CERN because they weren't allowed to blow up any more nukes. They just shut down the launch computer. And so they just said, okay, we're going to have to build a device that can do that, that can do that ground, that's not, blowing anything up. So that's what CERN and the other 5 colliders on Earth are the main ones. The main one being Brookhaven Labs in Long Island, New York. That's the main one that had the black goo cube condensate there, and it's kind of linked to all the other ones. It's literally the Cerebro machine from the X-Men movies that the professor gets into, and he puts it on. He's like, I can locate every soul, and then he just sees everything. That's literally what CERN is doing in effect to that kind of like that effect, and then affecting our Merkabas. And then, by the way, I don't know if you heard, in Saudi Arabia, they're putting up one of those like smart cities that's a glass wall, and you're going to live within this like 400-foot wide wall that goes like I don't know how many miles, and it's all glass on the outside, so like reflects the desert. You don't even see it's there. Now they got a new one going up. What country is that? It's called Macab. It's a big. They say you can fit 400 Empire State Buildings into it, and it's going to be a whole like virtual reality holographic city that people live in. You go in different parts of it to experience different like holographic realities, and you'll live in there and everything. So, Macab is literally just like a play on Merkaba, which is our energetic body, or like what people call your aura. One thing that I wanted to mention, have you ever heard that the first mass shooting in the United States was December 29th, 1890, which was the genocide of the Sioux Indians when the government disarmed them apparently for their own safety, and then they just murdered them all. Have you heard that before?
I didn't know that date, but 12/29, that's the 201st prime.
Yeah. What else? Oh, you were talking about, let me see if I want to get into that real quick. I'm just looking over my notes. Okay. So I know you've been talking about this, like getting into the markets, using this knowledge to get into the markets and make money. And although I do think that's, in general, a good idea, but just like how me and you and a bunch of other people don't want to get into crypto because it's like selling, or you're funding their system, like by you investing in it. It's like kind of like if you need like to generate some money to start a project. You're like, all right, I'll have a raffle, I'll buy $1,000 TV, and I'll sell $10,000 in raffle tickets. Then the person wins $1,000 TV. I just made $9,000 I could put toward my project. So that's literally how what the stocks are. So they have people that tell, like, before they started this whole electric car and battery shit, that they needed to start mining lithium and cobalt. So like 5-10 years ago, you have these like shills that are in the investments and stuff telling everybody, oh, buy mining stocks. So that way people start buying it, and then obviously the numbers are just artificially inflated, but they don't have any money. They have to print money for everything. So then they just get people to invest their money in that stuff, and then it's just like if, say, okay, give me a money to open up a gas station with a liquor store on this popular corner. Even though, you gave me money, I can easily pay you back and make money on top. It's like a guarantee, so that's because they're pushing everything. So it's a guarantee that agenda's going to get pushed forward. All they need is the initial investment. So that's what, the stock market has been for years. And then like now when they're pushing everything over into this electric control grid with electric money, electric cars, electric smart home and everything like that. So like, we're just being like we're getting them off the ground with our initial investments, regardless if we make any money on it. So I was thinking like, okay, right now, let's see. Now it went down to 489 because I called, but before there was like 589 people on there. So let's just say, take out 189 for trolls. So 400 solid people. Let's just say we got an investor, give each one of those listeners 10 grand. Like, how you're saying we're going to try to invest in some, make some money. Let's just say 10 grand. That's it's pretty hard to make 10 grand right away. You may make it after a while, certain things go up, but with like a minimal investment, you know, that it'd be hard to do. It's if you got 5 grand and went up to 10 grand, okay, that's not that big of a deal. But I'm saying like put in $100 and it's gonna go up to 10 grand. So it would have to be like something like a Bitcoin or some one of these things that goes bananas, right? So let's just say, you know, we gave 400 of the main solid listeners 10 grand. Like that's like what, $4 million? So what would change? Would we be any closer to any kind of like rebellion or anything like that? That's what I was like trying to think, like what, you know, everybody would be a little bit personally better off, but what would most people do with it, number one, and second of all, what would that change as far as like what people like you and me and many others are trying to get done in this world? You know, like, I don't know, you know, I was trying to figure out like how, you know, weighing both sides, you know, like, so, and then like, so since we're being pushed into the electronic control grid already for 10 years, they've been doing all the background shit they need for that, which is mostly the mining. And then they got, just like we have shills like Elon Musk, they put out to push, you know, the technology and all this shit. But then when you hear him talk, he's fucking a moron. He's not like a scientist. He's not an inventor or anything. So he doesn't really even know how the stuff works. And just like that, they have shills for the markets, you know, like the guy who wrote Rich Jew Dad, Poor Goyim Dad. What is it? Rob Fukuzaki, not Fukuzaki, Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki, yeah.
Yeah, Kiyosaki. He lives right there with all the Jews in Paradise Valley behind the gates right there, doesn't he, in Scottsdale?
He does. He lives in a gated community. Yeah.
That's all. I know a rich Jewish lady who lives right by him. Her grandpa started American Greeting Cards. And then they have like apartment buildings in like Ohio that have like 160 units and like all over. So they're just like, you know, he lives back there with all the Jews. So he's another shill that's been pushing a lot of this stuff. Like, oh, you should invest in this, you should do this. And then just like, yeah, you may make some money in it. And do you know anybody that's been able to pull out large sums of money out of making money on crypto? Because people that I know that made any money, they got like, they couldn't even like withdraw it, and then they got it jacked like through, you know, like their wallet got tapped into or something. I mean, I don't know anybody who's actually, that I know that's made like, you know, life-changing money on crypto other than the shills they sell us, like Jeff Berwick, Andrew Tate, all these clowns that, you know, are just, you know, fake Jews. So they didn't make any money in crypto. They're just there to sell us. So we invest our money in crypto. And then that's like another way they, you know, just like donating for, you know, disaster relief, you know, what they call that, disaster capitalism or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still like trying to figure out what would be like the good thing and the right thing to do in that respect. Because I mean, I'm not necessarily against using their shit to help us out and like against them, but if we're helping them in the same way more than we're actually helping ourselves, I don't know, you know. And then what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, then you were talking about the electric cars and these charging stations. So most of 80% of the gas, the electricity comes from burning gas. So from what I heard in the research I've done, that this electric car industry is going to have a crash as hard as and fast as the asbestos industry. Like it's going to become a fucking disaster, not just an economic disaster. It's going to become an economic disaster, but it's going to become and it's already a environmental disaster and social disaster. They're using like little kids who are the only ones small enough to get into those holes over there and mine that shit with their freaking hands in Africa. So, you know, and these other places that they're getting the cobalt and lithium. So I see it coming up as an enormous crash. And I have friends who are buying you know, the new Porsche Taycan because they're offering them all kinds of freaking money like off on it. And I'm like, you realize these new gas-powered cars are coming out like a $10,000 premium on it, but they're subsidizing it. Are you seeing what's going on here? How the fuck could they do that unless, you know, that it's totally being subsidized by these governmental, you know, by these, you know, the New World Order interests. I mean, why would they do that? You know, I'm in the middle of buying a car right now. My lease was up on my Mercedes, and the lease rates suck now. So do the loan rates, but I plan on just basically buying it cash. And, you know, the new Mercedes of my car that I would want. I like the car. It's a freaking like, you know, hybrid now with the battery. If it was a hybrid with no battery, kind of like the original Prius, I would think about it, maybe, probably not. But, you know, now I'm looking at, you know, just a regular petrol engine BMW twin turbo, and I'm about to buy that because they're saying that that's going to go. So everything's going electric now. You can't. It's hard to buy like niche cars, like specialty cars that are not going electric. Even Ferrari now, Lamborghini. I mean, all of these exotic cars are starting to go hybrid, and then the next step is electric, like Mercedes, and they've had hybrids for years already now. You know, some of these like family vehicles, now they're starting to put in their sports cars.
Well, which would make sense, right? Because the electric cars are even faster. So why wouldn't the sports cars become electric cars? Then they'll be even faster. They're all about speed. So
yeah, and that's what lures people, you know. But most people that are real like petrol heads or whatever, they're like, dude, I ain't driving a fucking rolling microwave. I'm not doing it. I don't give a fuck how fast it is. I mean, have you been in the Tesla? The thing literally kind of, it's like.
I haven't been in a Tesla, no.
It can literally kind of make you sick, almost like if you just ate and then went on a roller coaster. Like, you know, that 1.90 to 60 acceleration it kind of like moves your guts a little bit, you know. And it's like, I mean, it's cool, but you know, it's like it just feels unnatural, and the body doesn't really like it, you know, moving like that. So I mean, and then, you know, we were talking about like the solar. I think you were talking about as well, and are they going to put charging stations with massive solar? You know, they have something in their back pocket already, because these like solar panels that you put on your house that they'll give you for free and all this shit, those get about 2% efficiency. 2%. So they have this thing called liquid solar, which gets like 18-20%. It's like 10 times more. The military uses it. What they do is they can paint it on any substance. So they can put up like they can make like let's just say they go in the desert and they put up like a little building made out of rubber tires and then put like a tent over it. They can literally paint this substrate on it, and then there's another thing you put on top of it, and it's like a solar panel, so you can paint it over any shape. It doesn't have to be like a flat panel that you have to install somewhere. You could just like paint your whole house. Instead of paint, it'd be painted with this substrate. Even they could infuse it into windows, into all this stuff. They literally were talking about just like infusing it into the wood, into the vinyl, you know, like the sheeting for on the outside of your house. If you don't have stucco and you have like the fake wood vinyl and stuff like that, they could infuse it into all that. And the military does this stuff. That's how so you're getting 10%, 10 times more power out of those. And imagine how much more surface area you could cover if you could just paint it. So technically, if you had an electric car that was painted in that stuff on the outside, you could maybe run it with a couple over Unity devices. You would run it with no battery. So I don't know if they want to give that to people. It doesn't seem so. It seems like they want to take away, put everybody in these 15-minute cities or in these like holographic, you know, glass mirror smart cities or cubes or whatever the hell they want. They're trying to do with that. So yeah, okay. Let me go back in my notes, see what else I had here. And I was thinking about, you know, how you were talking about, you know, they're always giving us clues about what's going to blow up. So like, you know, which one is going to get the funding, the 2.1 billion or whatever it is for charging stations. And like, you know, they give us clues just like in the names. If you look at the names of some of these, you know, companies like that guy, you had just had that one that acquires one, what was it called? One something. And down where I work, they just conglomerated like 3 different shipping container companies. Now it's called One.
Sure.
They're all pink. It's called One Ocean like Network or something like that. They absorbed like 3 other shipping lines. And then, you know, like I feel like they do line it up with all those clues. Like for instance, like Android, you know, obviously they're you know, they give them that name because they're trying to turn us all into Androids. We carry them around. And then Android, the graphics processor on Android is called Adreno. And then the browser is called Chrome. So you have Adrenochrome. And then Apple, you know, has the Apple from the Garden of Eden on the back of it. And then the operating system is iOS, which is the Rings of Saturn matrix. So like, you know, they do give us all all the names in there. And I mean, I think even with that, you could just look at some of these companies just based on the name. You're going to see who's going to get it. See, those panels that you have up right now, those are still just like standard panels, like where you have to have a whole assembly. Imagine if you just have like a covering there, like over a kind of like a junior high lunch area, and then just paint liquid solar over it, be like all solid, you know, and getting 10 times more power than those. So they're going to have to change a lot of shit for everybody to be able to live the way we're living now and have these electric cars. In smart cities, yeah, it would be possible, but if everybody's going to be on electric cars and still driving like we're driving now, they don't have there's no way they can put the infrastructure up. I mean, they may give somebody $2.1 million to start, but there's no way they'd be able to change everybody over. They would be looking at like 2050 or some, you know, it's just too much. From the research I've done in this industry, like it's a huge scam. That's why it's all subsidized, just like this putting solar on your house.
Sure.
Let's see. Do you have any comments on anything that I said, by the way?
Yeah, about investing in the market. The thing that's different about that than crypto to me is just I see crypto as the bait to get people excited in electronic currency, and I don't want to support anything electronic currency because that's where we're going. But yeah, I do hear what you're saying about supporting their system, but at the same time, we do live in their system. And it's almost like you got to play the game to beat the game because, I mean, how do you beat the game without resources? So.
I don't know. I don't know if we can out-resource them. I think the resources would be like just for ourselves to maintain, right? Or, you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I mean. If you get enough resources to get a big plot of land and, you know, build a sustainable living situation that you could help other people out with, I mean, that's the kind of idea I have, so.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're not like necessarily we're not gonna out-revenue them and beat them, but we're just gonna be able to kind of like maintain our own little like safety nest or whatever, where you don't have to worry too much like everybody else that's living in like a smart city or, you know, big city or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm still open to it. I'm listening. I want to hear what you have to say about it as time goes on, and, you know, how it develops, like in your mind and your gut feeling about it.
By the way, just about the electric charging companies, I was doing more research on it, and one of the companies, ChargePoint, their CEO is a member of the Biden administration, and then his name in Gematria equals 168, and I noticed that Biden's announcement about the $7.5 billion they're going to be giving out to these charging companies, that announcement was exactly 168 days after that CEO's birthday. So I do find that interesting.
I got a couple other things written down here that were just like randoms. I don't remember from who was asking about it, but so I think somebody was talking about, are they like cloning these rappers and stuff, like killing and then just cloning them or whatever. So when you're talking about cloning, you're only cloning the physical like, you know, carbon meat suit portion of an animal, or you're not like getting the same soul. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, how would that necessarily help them? So if they were doing like they would have to be placing a different soul of their picking into that avatar, that new cloned avatar of that person, so they can assume their public persona and push their agenda, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Like, that's you know, that's a far stretch. You know, it's a lot easier just to get these guys to do this shit by, you know, giving them shit and getting them to, you know, make that Faustian bar and all that stuff. It'd be much easier and more feasible.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's a little way too far of a stretch on that. What was the whole thing about that Kelly Pickler chick from American Idol, that Jewish chick that was kind of cute? She's probably like half Jew, half Goyim. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't be as good looking. What was that?
Her husband supposedly died from suicide.
They had her. She wasn't that great of a singer, but later they had her on, like, not really a commentator, but like a guest host that would be out in the crowd or whatever, trying to find a place to put her so they could pay her. Any of these, if you're half Jew or full Jew and you're halfway even decent good looking, they'll make you a supermodel. See if I have anything else written down here. I think that's it. I think I got everything there. I just kind of have a bunch of scribble on my phone that's not very coherent. So I'm having to go back and forth, like, why did I write that? By the way, that's it for me. But by the way, I was just going to tell you, this is so good. So you get Japanese yams. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Just peel it and then chop it down like food processor, like the size of grits. Put it in a pan, coconut oil and water. Let the water absorb into it so it softens up, and then it has a little bit of that, like it has a little bit of softness and crunchiness to it, and just some Ceylon cinnamon or some Vietnamese cinnamon. Super bomb.
Okay, good to know. I'll try that out.
Anyway, I think that's it for me for tonight. If you have any further comments or...
Well, just about the whole weed thing. I didn't turn against weed at all. I mean, I've always enjoyed smoking weed. It's just I got tired of Sweet Lady nagging me about smoking weed, which is pretty much just like ruining weed for me. So,
what do you think about having to grow, not necessarily for personal smoke, but having to grow like just heirloom strains?
Yeah, I'm actually debating on getting back into the weed business because I moved to this small little town and there's one little shop here, but everything's a huge ripoff. And I'm just like, if I opened a shop, I would have fair prices, and I feel like I'd put this place out of business in a day. So,
And I still have a lot of seeds from, the good ones, White Widow, AK-47, Skywalker, all that stuff before that was like, I mean, they would max out at like 20% THC if you lab test them. But the spiritual effect that they would give you would be, I mean, it would last like an hour or two. Time would go by. You wouldn't even, you're like, damn, 2 hours just went by. Like, you wouldn't even think to take another hit. This other stuff, you just like, you want to take another hit right away. It seems like, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know what they did. And I'm getting stuff from like, not from shops. I'm getting from growers, that aren't using organic shit and all this stuff. But, they claim their seeds are old and this, Bubba OG and all this stuff. But then, like, I'm like, man, that stuff used to really knock you out before. Now it's like, it's way more of a high effect. Like, they mix like almost like a caffeine effect into all of it. It's really weird. Like, how are you smoke heavy indica, but it gives you like for the first like hour, you're like super like high off it. Like, if it's a really strong sativa, like if it was like if you took like a salad of Bob Marley, lamb's bread, and some other one, and you're just like on a bomb one for like an hour, like cleaning the house and, just, should I change my oil? Like, you're just thinking of any chores to do in the house. And then now it seems like the indicas have that effect a little bit. I don't know, so I was thinking, is it smart to get back into that industry? Because I used to grow before all the time, but I haven't in years because they all dispensary on every corner in LA. It's stupid, They were charging cheap prices. Now that the government took it all over, now it's a crazy price. Like, eighths are like $75-$80 in LA.
Sure.
So, all right, well, we're already at 9:30, so might as well end it here.
All right, man. Enjoy your food.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Bye. Somebody said, slip Sweet Lady an edible. Sweet Lady, when I first met her, she was just like so horrified of this idea of marijuana. Oh my God. But I got her to try it, and you should have seen how much fun she was having. She turned into this little dancing machine. But yeah, it's been a minute since she had any herself, so she knows about how fun it can be. Yeah, she prefers that. She can't stand this. She can't stand it when my breath smells like I was smoking. So anyway, and the other thing is like, I mean, it's not like cigarettes, but I mean, if you smoke all the time, it does take a toll on your lungs. And I mean, even though that I haven't smoked since the last time I smoked anything was the beginning of October. So what is that? October, November, December, January, February. It's almost March. So it's almost been about 7 months since I smoked anything. And actually, is that 6? I guess that's 6 months. When I cough, it still sounds like I have smoker lungs. So I mean, I wish I could see what my lungs look like, but I did smoke for a long time. So I wouldn't mind having like a healthy sounding lung. Yeah, however, that said, I mean, it never like messed with my stamina or running. It seemed like I'd always run fine. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm sure I'll end up smoking again here and there, but I'm gonna try to never go back to smoking almost every day like I did for so much of my adult life. And an edible here and there. Yeah, the thing is though, I start getting the edibles and then I start wanting to smoke again because I prefer smoking. So it's just like when I don't have it, because that's the thing. Like if somebody came over right now, is like, "Hey Zach, here's a joint." I smoked. I'd be like, "Damn, I gotta smoke some weed tomorrow too." So that's why I just am doing real good at not doing anything right now. Oh man, I've been on every time I go for a walk by the dispenser. I'm tempted to go in there, but also what helps out is that everything is so expensive in the shop. I feel like I'm getting ripped off. I'm like, I can't pay these prices anymore for this. What is it, 1990? Come on, man. So. All right, guys, we will leave it there, and have a great rest of your evening, or if you're in D26 land, have a great rest of your day, and I'm sure I'll be back tomorrow. And part of the reason, you guys, part of the reason I didn't do as much videos and live streams today is I wanted to save up for TFR, and I did put out 2 quick short videos. But seriously, I was doing a ton of research and homework today. I was just doing a ton of research and homework, and I was doing research and homework on the market because I actually am excited about this market project. And it's not just about investing in the market. I just want to help more people make smart financial decisions and kind of do what I did, make smart choices, be disciplined, and help escape the slave grind. Because again, for all of you guys out there who do the slave grind and don't like your slave job, there is a way to escape it. And again, I just want to help more people do that. Escape the slave grind. Because life is better when you're your own boss. And also, I mean, if you can become more independent, that's probably going to be helpful in the time going forward. They're talking about mass layoffs. I think there's going to be a lot of people finding themselves out of work. And of course, it's hard to invest if you don't have any money to invest. But again, disciplined, being smart, it'll help out in all situations, all scenarios. And yeah, so that's going to start March 1st. And like I was saying the other day, I mean, for all the people who spend a lot of money on weed and alcohol and these types of things, someday you might look back and think like, damn, I should have done something else with all that money because I'm still stuck in the slave grind. So. All right. Yeah, and try not to argue with people in the chat too, man. It's like a lot of people just come here, they don't even like listen to the stream. They're just like trying to start stuff with people in the chat. But shout out to all the truth seekers. And until next time, everybody.